I want to be a black Democratic congressperson, completely unaccountable to my own community, always making excuses. We're going to have some wonderful fun tonight. In fact, please come in, come in, come in wherever you are. Come in from the cold. Let me see. Where's my thermos at? Okay, my thermos is down there. I even brought, please retweet this, share this, let everybody know we're doing this. Uh, uh, okay, I'm going to go back. I'm going to put up one or two others. I'm a couple minutes behind, but that's okay. Here we go. We're doing, this is going to be a sex, slavery. Come on, sex, slavery, and sex, slavery, violence, and feminism, white feminist roots with who? With Dr. Randy Short. Yes, 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 it's nobody but me. Just me, baby. It's me, right? So we're going to have fun. Hello, Brother Robin. Thank you for treating me like I'm white. Uh, Come over to the Salt channel, Robin. I want to make you a moderator over here. Uh, Anybody that I know. And absolutely thank everybody for being so wonderful. Oh, look, there are four people over here. Okay. We're about to go live on the Salt channel. Come on over, Robin. Become a moderator. I think they allow you to do it on my other channels, so I have to do it from there. So come over to Salt if you can. Oh, look, the ice. Black people love the Iceman inheritance. I don't really mess in that. I'm honest with people. I mean, I don't lie to folks. I I I have to be honest. So I don't lie to people. I don't get up and talk a bunch of negative stuff about everybody white. I'm sorry. I got a bunch of them in the family. It's whether they like me or not. They're black people in the family that hate me. It's just people are jerks in general. So I'm not looking to cast dispersion on whole groups of people. I want to tell the truth, right? Um, so that's what I'm trying to do. Sex, slavery, and racist roots, racist roots of white feminism. If you're a feminist, this is not the platform for you. You will be miserable here. Yes, yes, yes. We're about to have some fun. Yes, I have the right to warm up. And with or without your permission, I'm going to indulge in my ritual of taking drugs, my performance enhancing drugs. Uh, mm, uh, and I want to remind everybody, I just ask you guys to pray for my mother. Hope that she gets better. Oh my, cancer's no joke, people. It is no joke. Uh, and so uh, let me see, I'm getting these up. And we're going to even have some music. I feel like doing some songs. There you go. There you go. Uh, uh, Okay, and there you go. So 17 people. Let's see if we can get to. Oh yeah, and there are 12 over here. Hey Devin, how are you, brother Chris? Uh, brother Robin, can you go to the Salt channel so I can make you a moderator, please? Because I'm trying. I think if I make you a moderator, I don't know how to do it in here. And let me see, just so we have everything moving. And we're gonna be doing a couple of books. I may not do all of them, but I'm gonna do pieces. I'm very, very excited. Give me just another second. And I want to do a special shout out to some of the realest people that I know. I have a lot of good friends in Ohio. Uh, I mean, the sister Savannah's in Ohio. Ohio's been very good to me. Um, Ohio. Hey, Sister Devon. White man to all you sisters. White woman to you, my brothers. And if you're a white woman, you can just feel good. All right. And I have my drugs. And I love drugs. Here you go. There you go. I see you. Now let me get on you. Uh, add as moderator. Uh, mhm. Okay. Okay. Your moderator. Oh my God. Hello, everybody. Yeah. Went to the hospital today with my mother. Man, health is a trip, people. Take care of that health. Take care of your health. Okay, I'm almost there. And let me see. May the good Lord bless this discussion. Amen, amen, amen. Um, yes. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Oh, and drugs for me are vitamins and supplements. But yes, I did do marijuana oil on one show. Oh my God, I'll never do that. I stopped taking that. It, I can't believe people like getting high. I mean, it made me so angry. I hate marijuana more than ever before. I mean, I was talking and I couldn't remember what the hell I was talking about. And I'm thinking a lot of people get pregnant or have sex when they're high. I never I I haven't touched my gummies or anything. I was so angry about not being able to think straight. I'm afraid of drugs. I always hated them. I would see people stab and literally almost kill each other over wine and stuff. Uh, so I never got into how people like getting high. It just it's all terrifying to me. And then to like take something and all of a sudden you can't remember what the hell you're talking about, and you know you have some important shit to say, and people pay and go to jail and have to hide it and have weed up the crack of their ass and drug. Nah, I'd rather listen to some gospel music and get emotional. So I'm gonna get suited up for my reading enhancing drugs. Should y'all do sports betting? You follow Prince, he was on Percocet. Natalie Cole was on something. Shaka Khan is definitely on something. One of my friends said she saw Aretha Franklin do coke back in the day. A lot of them are druggies, and you love them. So I got this. Oh, hey, Hannibal, white woman to you, sir. Uh, and I'm a little bit behind. Again, I want to shout out to the twin brother lawyers in Cleveland, Ohio. I may not want to say their names. I don't want them to get in trouble and not get some job or something. But good guys. I was off the internet for a couple of weeks because the Macintosh that I normally did the Angry Black Men's Book Club from, the operating system was too old to support the changes in Google. And these guys got me a computer last year. And I'm so used to the old ass one. But I hooked this one up, and that's why we're back. So Believe it or not, somebody gave me a computer, and I'm not looking at porn. It's not a vanity thing. I'm literally sharing. So when people give me something, I share it with other people. I definitely want people to donate. I have a friend over in Africa that needs to have heart surgery. So I definitely hope I get some donations. I need a few more bucks uh, so I can help him out. And I know someone with tuberculosis that I want to do a collection for. And of course, I've got a GoFundMe. Brother Robin, can you pull up my GoFundMe and get my thing and share it? When I tell you the other day I had to pay straight up, it was like $500 to have a naturopathic scan and a consultation because the situation with my mother is quite grave, very grave, and it's serious. And not whining or anything, but imagine when you start thinking about, the worst thing that could ever happen to you is your mother died. I had a brother die. I've had friends die. People burn up in house fires, murders, everything. The only real, I've nearly died multiple times. Nothing has made me feel more concerned about life than your mama being sick. And so I appreciate everyone that's helped me because it's stressful. So the good news is my mother, who wasn't eating, and when you're not eating, that's deadly. At least she's eating some. And I want to thank all the people. I think in our GoFundMe, I think we got, of course, they take their fees out, but what they sent me in GoFundMe has allowed me to pay to see naturopathic doctors who do not take insurance. So even if you have it, Obamacare, whatever, you just have to pay out of pocket. And I'm hoping that this alternative medicine and other things are option because chemo, I mean, my mother's almost as dark as I am. My mother's like, my mother used to be a red bone. Now, she's just a regular old darky like the rest of us. I think she misses being light. I guess they got privileges and such. I don't know. I was lighter. I didn't like it. I found being light skinned a drag. If I'm gonna be black, I'm gonna be in it. Like at least dark enough for people to know that you're not white. At least I don't come off as a biracial. Certain people wonder, what the fuck are you really? Okay, so okay, even you talk like you're white, but you do look like you're black. Imagine if you sort of talk like you're white, and you go, "This is your mother," and especially if your hair is jacked up and you're a woman, you know that person's mom was white because white women don't know what to do with black girls' hair. They like them at first until they have to do their hair. All right. Let me take a little more drugs. I love drugs. Those are fast absorbed. Oh my God, 29 people. Hello, everybody. We're talking about sex. We're talking about sex, slavery, racism, and the roots of white feminism for Women's History Month. Oh, yes, and I'm coming down on these holes this month. I even have some stuff. I'm going to bring in some stuff I didn't even plan. I want to thank all of you for all that you've done because I I have been true. When I tell you that I get books and you can see them, they stacked up, things that I dreamed of having. I'm going to read from one book in just a second. A book that was like a $400 book back in the 80s. I mean, this thing was an ass-kicking price book. Hold on, damn. Come on, man. You know, no, I'll do it like that. Okay. It was an ass kick. I mean, I couldn't even afford the book, and you couldn't check it out. It was a reference book. It was so expensive. And I'm so thankful for the wonderful people in the Angry Blackman's Book Club for donating via Cash App and Zelle and Patreon. And let me see. Y'all were just very good to me. And I'm going to read a little bit from that. Just, it's a book. If you can get a copy, get it. It's something that you may want, Brother Robin. Uh, let me see. Oh, I have a couple more minutes. Let me take some drugs now. Let me see. One pill, two pill. Put two in for Michael Jackson, two for Prince, uh, two for Jimi Hendrix, and two for Billie Holiday. All black folk who died from drugs and were very gifted. We can't take that away from them. And I got this expensive ass shit in the hospital. It's probably nasty, but I'm gonna drink it and just help this shit go down. And so, God bless my vitamin drug habit. Okay? Hmm. Oh, okay. One more thing. Oh, here's my cup. I fill my cup, Lord, let it overflow. Hold on. Ah, I'm just being real up in here. The books, virtually all the books that I talk about are available on Amazon. If you need any advice on any title I go over and you're trying to find a book because it's while I'm broke, uh, pardon me for not interacting like I'd like to. You can always call me. I talk to people. God bless Dick Gregory. You could call Dick Gregory. Not like these fake elite niggas who you can't speak to. I am not interested in being a celebrity. I am interested in being of service to my people. Okay? Which means you can call me or you can email me and I will communicate. So we got 27 people. I had a bunch more. Okay, that's okay. Let me finish taking my drugs. Shoot. Y'all do sports betting. They take drugs. What should I do? You know what? Let me add some orange juice to my this hibiscus. Okay, and yes, I'm orange juice. I don't like booze. And you know what? I bought booze. I thought it would help me with my cold. This food that went around, man, Jack Daniels didn't do a damn thing for me. It's so overrated. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, hold on. Let me, almost done. Come on. Mm. Now I'm gonna do that one more time. Y'all ready? Please share this. We got another second or so. Share this. Share this. Let everybody know we're about to go live. Now that I'm drugged up. Am I drugged up? Damn right I'm drugged up. In Jesus' name. Where's my tambourine at? Okay. Definitely drugged up. And I thought Uh, I have some songs too, and I have Sister Devon in Chicago always inspiring and annoying me about songs. And Brother Mark, he's a great nephew of a woman I love so much named Denise LaSalle, a real ass black woman, the sorry ass husband. He's dead and I'm still mad. I don't like when men mess over women. I, I end up hating them. I shouldn't hate nobody. I'm single. I'm good to the women friends I have. I can't see how any man get a woman and run them down like that. Um, all the feminist criticism aside, men that mess over women, I hate. God give you a good woman and you treat her like a damn barnyard animal, you should have your dick cut off. Sick of that. Uh, and why should she want to screw you if you smell like a mule? Um, damn. And can you imagine the sisters that were getting raped back in the day by funky ass white guys? They were drunk and funky, and you had to like give them head too, and get hit in the booty, and their friends. Shh. I'm reading this stuff because this needs to stop. And for all the people that are mad about what I'm reading about white men raping black women and so forth, and y'all can't open your mouth about Jay-Z, Diddy, and this damn dick hop homo thug culture, y'all are hypocrites. And I just have to say this before I get on with this, because I was having a conversation with a wonderful boomer friend of mine. But I want to say this: white on black, murder is wrong. Black on white, murder is wrong. Murder is wrong. Rape is wrong. Abuse is wrong. Black on black. A black person killing a black person makes me just as sick and angry as a white person. A lot of us aren't there. Start making excuses. And yet, when a white cop shoots a black person and white people make excuses, we ask ourselves why. But when a black person shoots and kills black people, we start justifying it. We're hypocritical. Have one goddamn standard about everything. Murder's always wrong. Unless you're defending yourself, you have no right to kill anybody. You don't have rights to treat people less than what you want to be treated. And that's a big problem because if we were on one page on code about murder, violence, and abuse, it'd be a lot harder for certain things to happen to us from anybody inside and from without. Because someone's trying to tell me about poverty and deprivation, why this black boy shot like 8, 9, 10 people in Alabama. I can't hear that. Okay. And every black mass killer, rapist, pedophile, whatever, if all of y'all hung from the tree, whether blacks, whites, somebody hung your ass, shot your ass, jailed your ass, goody goody. You are not my brother, my sister, if you're out here killing, raping, hurting, maligning. In fact, you're part of white supremacy and blackface. That's whether you're rich or poor, whether you're in the Congressional Black Caucus or you're just some gangbanger pushing fentanyl tablets, killing us. Whether you're an abortionist, whether you're a foreigner who's working in a hospital killing black seniors, giving us inferior medical care. I don't care who the hell you are. If you mistreat people, your wicked ass deserves to die. Okay? And I had a friend, and what made us enemies is he told me he used to go around and mug and attack white women. And he thought, oh, he's a foreigner, tether. Because I'm a black American, I think it's okay for racial revenge, for random white women to get beat and mugged. Uh, if you think I'm like that, get the hell off my platform. Because I'm not down for stuff like that. And I've had friends that were in other ethnic groups. I respected every other kind of woman I've been. Respect black ones, white ones, all of them. If you don't really like them, stay the hell away from them. If you don't want to honor or marry or engage them, have no business talking to them. Okay? And it is not manly to tell everybody who you've laid up with. That whole thing of boast about who you screwed, brothers, is copying the behavior of white men that used to rape black women during slavery. Whole lot of this so-called black American male macho culture is patterned after the rape culture of white men that owned slaves or had access to abuse our women. And we're copying it. And then it's keeping it real. It's keeping it real wicked. I had to get that off my chest. All right, let me get my book thing. I may have to really do a song because I know I pissed some people off. They only get happy when you're attacking white folk. Oh my God, my numbers of viewers went up when I said something bad about white people. I have plenty of bad shit to say about white folks. I have bad shit to say about black people. A lot of people in general, Asians, and a lot of people make me sick. But I don't hate them. I keep telling y'all, I was raised by people. Some of the people that raised me were white. Some of them were Caribbean. Some of them were Arab. Some of them were Asian. I grew up with everybody. I don't hate anybody. I just hate bullshit. I hate intolerance. I hate injustice. I hate it with all this. I hate pedophilia. I damn sure hate that. And by the way, I want to just repeat what I said last night. Pray for Jaguar, right? People trying to kill her. I got a request for prayer last night for Jaguar. They're trying to kill her. She's had to flee for her life. They're trying to kill her in California for speaking out against the rape of black, white, brown children, women, men. So this stuff I'm talking about, sex and slavery and racism. And by the way, you don't see any feminist supporting Jaguar. Let me put my glasses on. I got my book. I got my first book. I'm not going to read all of it. No, look, selfish. Yeah, I'm trying to help people, animal. That's how you got that damn Costco chicken. People gave me a donation. I bought it for you. So, and you can't be in heat. You've been spayed. Just don't even put on. It's not like Robin's cat that's always horny, bothering him. Okay. Thank you for your patience. Hey, selfish. You have a boyfriend outside. He's ugly. I don't approve of him. Yes, selfish. I want to share with you guys this book that came out, I think, in the 80s. And I paid 90 some odd dollars for this book. This book came out 45 years ago. 45 years ago, it was like a $500-$600 book. Yeah, what's up, animal? Yeah, well, you ate. Eat the food that's upstairs. And let me hold this up again. If you can get your hands on this book, for all of you, you'll start to see. This book is called Advice Among Masters by Gale Press. Advice Among Masters, The Ideal and Slave Management in the Old South, edited by James O. Breeden. This was a book that you couldn't even check out of the library. This, back in the day, was $300, $400, $500. I got it for $90. And the equivalent, this is like $1,000 book. One of the reasons I have this book club is if you don't go to the big schools, if you don't have a really good public library, you don't have librarians that don't hate black people's guts, you may not get to see even literature. I had to share this. I've been trying to get this book since I was an undergraduate at Howard. It took me from 1982 until last year to find a copy. I think I got this on eBay. I paid about $90 for it. So when you give me a donation at Dr. Randy Short, $ Dr. Randy Short, I'm going to read from this, but understand it cost me literally $90 to be able to share it with you. So I want to take a couple things from here, since we're talking about sex, slavery, racism, and the roots of white feminism. I want to get a little bit about this. I'm going to pick something in here and read pick something on here, and so you can understand how bad this is. Let me see. I'll find a nice section. I'll read these things to you. How you guys like this? Take this down. Y'all like this? Let me read some of this so you can understand. Y'all can completely understand where I'm going with this. Don't blame me for anything in this book. I didn't make anybody do anything. I didn't hurt nobody. I didn't write this. Okay. Let me see. Should I do religious instruction or do marriage? Let me do marriage. I'm just going to read a little bit on marriage. I think marriage is on page 239. Or should I do something on children? No, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to do 78. Talk about them whooping some ass. This is how I get black people. You have to bring them something graphic because we're always in denial, running from reality. So I'm in chapter 6 of Reading's Advice Among Masters. And let me put this up here so everybody can have it. So nobody says, well, what book is this? Oh, God save us. Okay. All right. So I'm going to put this up. Okay. And I'm in chapter 6. Discipline. Let the church say amen. Punishment must never be cruel or abusive, for it is absolutely mean and unmanly to whip a Negro from mere passion and malice. And any man who can do so is utterly unfit to have control of Negroes. And if ever any of my Negroes are cruelly or inhumanely treated, bruised, maimed, or otherwise injured, the overseer is to be forthwith and promptly dismissed. A Louisiana planter, 1856. The lash symbolizes slavery. That excessive whippings took place cannot be denied. But such harsh treatment was against the advice of the spokesman for the ideal in slave management. Indeed, their stand on discipline presented in this chapter called for an avoidance of force if possible. While these writers accepted slave offenses as a common feature of slaveholding. They insisted that discipline was to be for correction and not for punishment. Whether administered by the master, overseer, or driver, it was to be immediate, consistent with the offense, and uniform in all cases. It was to be tempered by humanity and never carried out in a fit of pique. The likelihood of the lash in maintaining discipline was almost universally conceded, but it was to be used as a last resort. Extra work, confinement, and loss of privileges were popular substitutes for whipping. All agreed that when resorted to, the lash was to be administered in moderate doses. Let me just say to you, in oppressing Black Americans, everyone doesn't get police murder or police beatings. Loss of jobs, status, privilege. So the modulation of how you control people is you don't always use violence. You can threaten people with the butter biscuits and other things, has always been a feature of how we've been dominated. I'm going to give you an example. An 1828 overseer, more punishment is inflicted on every plantation by men in power from private pique than from a neglect of duty. This I assert as a fact. I have detected it often. When I pass sentence myself, various modes of punishment are adopted. The lash, the least of all. Digging stumps or clearing away trash about the settlements in their own time. But the most severe is confinement, at home 6 months to 12 months or longer. In other words, the precursor to mass incarceration, people. The lash is, unfortunately, too much used. Every mode of punishment should be devised in preference to that. And when used, never to lacerate. All young persons will offend. In other words, don't beat them as so hard as to make them really angry with the system. Just enough to keep them under control, but not too much to make them lose it. Think about this, people. Like affirmative action and DEI and little trinkets here and there as to not make them so mad as to stand up and want true freedom, reparations, and justice. There's a logic to it. And notice, all young persons will offend. Slavery always, and oppression always seeks to undermine the youth. The old Negroes are already broken. A Negro at 25 years old who finds he has the marks of a rogue inflicted when a boy, even if disposed to be orderly, has very little or no inducement to be otherwise. In other words, if you beat the shit out of someone just to show them I'm white and I can kick your ass, and that person looks at the scars, he's not going to be a good slave because he figures I have nothing to lose fighting your ass. The American system of oppression of Black Americans is to never do too much as to make people really lose it. Something that they learned in 1968, killing Black public figures in an open way like Dr. King or Malcolm X, created the greatest activity in my lifetime among Black people. Happened when I was 3, when Dr. King was shot, and Black folks set 200 cities on fire. That was bigger than the March of Washington and all this other John Lewis homo shit that they taught you. The system is careful not to push too hard because the system isn't as strong as you imagine it is. And the system isn't really ready to have to go all out to control. This is why the system always cultivates traitors, collaborators, Mr. and Mrs. in between type Negroes, boule types. It's always been there. A factor of the system is cultivating people who are happy with third or fourth class citizenship. 1830, Planter wrote, "The proper management and discipline of slaves subjects the man of care and feeling to more dilemmas than perhaps any other vocation he could follow. To keep a diary of their conduct would be a record nothing short of a series of violations of the laws of God and man. To moralize and induce the slave to assimilate with the master and his interests has been the great desideratum aimed at, but I am sorry to say that have long since desponded in the completion of this task." Translation: get the slave to see slavery as in their interest. What's good for America? What's good for the gays? What's good for the migrants and the illegals? What's good for the suburbs, Mr. Secretary at HUD? What's good for the feminists? All the tide lifts all boats. What's good for the people of color? Do you see the scam here? That nothing's changed in hundreds of years, and everybody that doesn't tell you this are liars. So I tell you, to teach people, I'm going to read the thing on religion in here, to teach you to imagine yourself basically as white. You belong, you're in. You're a part of this plantation. Yes, you live in the slave quarters, but you're still a part of the family. You can come to the back door and get a piece of fat back. I don't beat you too hard. Don't you know I love you? Or as they would say in church, we may even visit the nigger side of heaven when we die, just to hear y'all sing. So he desponded that he couldn't get these people. Even then, there were people who used their brains and says, I don't like this system, massa. Isn't it amazing that enslaved, there's a difference between a slave and an enslaved person. This guy's talking about enslaved people who didn't like being slaves. And I'm talking to many of you, and we have family and friends who are slaves, who are comfortable with everything, who think it's strange what we're doing right now. But however, this true picture may be, those servile creatures, not people, we are bound under many sacred obligations to treat them with humanity at all times and under all circumstances. You know what? I think they knew someone was going to read this. Do you really think that the slave system could exist with everyone being treated humanely? Do you see the lies in this? That they're lying to themselves about how well they treated people. The same people writing this, my friends, are the same types of people who talked about the happy slaves. Be very careful when you read literature, because nobody wants to say, I just raped my slaves. I just beat the shit out of my slaves. I just broke up families. Certain people don't write that. There's a song called Shake, Rattle, and Roll. Shake, rattle, and roll. Let's shake, rattle, and roll. Let's shake, rattle, and roll, right? Can't do right to save my doggone soul, right? And there's a line, I'm like a one-eyed cat peeping in a seafood store. A one-eyed cat, okay, is an old term for a penis because you only have one hole, unless you got, especially if you've got two. Okay, call Guinness. The seafood store is the vagina. In slavery times, one-eyed cats were white men who raped black women that they sold, in particular young ones. And they used all kinds of language to hide what kind of people they were. America is based on lies and deception about racism and injustice. And these people are always thinking, we're going to get busted one day for what we've done to these people. So even when they're writing, they're shading and changing the information so you can't get them later. The same way when the Iranians went into the American embassy in 1979 to take hostages, or 81 those years. The people were shredding and destroying the documents of all the torture and stuff. The same way they destroyed stuff, the same way they redacted Epstein's stuff, to destroy information because white people fear judgment for the crimes that they've committed. And so they're constantly changing and revising and trying to sanitize what they know is wrong. Even when you have the upper hand, even when people, blacks can't read, write, have no freedom, they're thinking about possible judgment. And we're going to talk about that in the future books. I'm going to be doing reconstruction, so where white folks had fears of slave revolts and people committing suicide. And the first drug epidemics in this country were among white women who feared retaliation for how they treated black people when they were enslaved. So they're on drugs all the time, trying to cope with what they've done and what they're doing to other people. And that's still true today, that the biggest consumers of dope in the world are white American people. And might I say, white males and white women are the biggest users of alcohol, drugs, prescription, illegal and otherwise. Even they got chemistry sets making the shit at home. Because of what they do. By the way, I'm not talking about putting anybody in jail, shooting anyone. I'm simply saying you walk around guilty in your own conscience because you've done evil. You're living in an evil system. You're committing evil. And you want for posterity, when people read about you, to see you as a good person. It's the same way Bill Gates and all these wicked people do what's called philanthropy to cover up the crimes that they did to get the fortunes. It never changes. The Fords committed crimes. The Rockefellers committed crimes. The Gettys committed crimes. People who are stealing, if there's any humanity in them, people who are pressing, raping, and selling, their conscience is troubled. So not only are they taking drugs, they're pushing drugs, alcohol, and even trying to get you to accept, to adopt to our oppression. Stop resisting me. When I ask for sex from your 6-year-old child, just let me have it. Why are you mad? Are y'all reading, listening to these books I'm reading? These people are mad. I mean, how dare you refuse me? I just come out the field sweaty and dirty, drunk with my friends. You better give me some sex, you black wench. If you don't, I'll beat you. I'll sell your kids if you don't do me and my friends right now. Little nigger bitch. No such thing as rape. There's no such thing as buck breaking or sodomizing the men. Do you really think that white homosexual men weren't bothering black boys and men? I'm going to read another chapter from another book. Are y'all with me? So look at this, saying that they treated people right. Although compelled to use coercive measures, they're compelled. You wouldn't be compelled if you didn't own them as slaves. If you didn't take a person's liberty and labor and their children and their women, You wouldn't have to beat them. But because you're holding them against their will and against the laws of God, now you have to beat and repress them. And therefore, you turn it around and make them guilty of you beating and repressing them to steal their labor. This is the mindset. Justifiable homicide for the police is a good example. I feared for my life, so I shot the black 5-year-old. He was frightened. I shot Tamir Rice. He was scaring me with his toy gun. And everybody knows the guy came out, just started shooting the kid. And did he get punished? No. Mind you, there is no change in mindset of the people walking around today say, I never owned slaves. I said, you could have fooled me. That's your response. Again, although compelled to use coercive measures for their good discipline, I'm beating you for your benefit. Mass incarceration is necessary to fight the scourge of crack and crime. Not good enough for Hunter Biden, all you Negroes that voted for Joe Biden. Not good for him and his other junkie daughter, Naomi Biden, but good enough for millions of black people. Okay. For their good discipline. Yet we should never lose sight of humanity in its strictest sense. Under all these considerations, it requires for good management and discipline of those people a man of steady habits connected with sobriety, fortitude, energy, and humanity, and a passion for enterprise. To clothe the naked, to feed the hungry, and soothe the sick should be our ceaseless duty towards the slave, and to compel them to theirs to should the order of the day. First and foremost, if they were free, they wouldn't be naked. They would feed themselves. In fact, they were feeding you. They're hungry because they're feeding you. Look at how they turn this around. We build the country and they call us lazy, grifters, welfare cheats, and yet let 15, 20 million people come in the country and give them better benefits than veterans and everybody else. That's why I'm going to deal with pro-slavery thought and other things, because a lot of people aren't getting this. A lot of people aren't getting this and wonder why I'm doing this. So, all right, let me keep reading. In 1831, a planter wrote, I rarely punish myself, but make my driver, in other words, I don't beat my niggas, but make my driver virtually an executive officer to inflict punishments that I may remove from the mind of a servant who commits a fault of the unfavorable impression too apt to be indulged in. That is for the pleasure of punishing rather than for the purpose of enforcing obedience and establishing good order, that punishments are inflicted, as it is no pleasure to a humane judge to sentence a fellow creature to be hanged and in one full swoop plunge him into eternity. Well, do y'all hear this? 1831 is the same year of the Baptist War in Jamaica, which basically resulted in the end of slavery in the British Empire, led by Samuel Sharp, which actually, the end of slavery in the British Empire, because of the Baptist War, which came after Nat Turner's revolt, the same year of 1831, the people in Jamaica rose up after Black Americans in the United States did under Nat Turner, a family member of mine, might I add. I rarely punish myself. So this is the good cop, the white liberal, who has his reactionary white conservative libertarian driver beat and brutalize. Oh, those are the cops. Well, they're rogue. Well, they're loose cannon. Bullshit. You're on the same team. That I may remove from the mind. In other words, we don't want our enslaved Negroes to see all of us as part of this game of beating their asses and stealing their labor. So I never beat you. I've been a good master. Well, that's George Bush. That's not me. That's Ronald Reagan. That's not me. That's Joe Biden. That's not me. That's Trent Lott. That's not me. What's that guy's name? That's Mitch McConnell. That's not me. Oh, I would never do that. This has always been the game of plausible denial. It's just you can believe their denial because they don't do things openly. But mind you, the driver was on his payroll who served at his pleasure. The cops that murder, the cops that beat, the gangs that push dope all serve at the pleasure of the people that oppress us. It's all the same. And he's talking about sentence a fellow creature to be hanged. In other words, they've had people killed. I've had people murdered, but I didn't do it. It's not easy for me to just hang a nigger. I don't want to be associated with the punishment of the people that I've enslaved. So I outsource it. I have a private prison or a private contractor, or I have, some CIA clandestine team go and do this. And we didn't do that. To impress this more forcibly on their minds, when they have urged us to plead that they are servants and must submit to the will of their masters, who can do as they please, I have addressed them in a mild and simple manner. So he's the good white liberal. I give to the NAACP. I have a whole life membership. I believe Hitler had a whole life membership with the NAACP. Assuring them that the laws of the land have secured them rights which the master dare not violate without incurring the risk of a heavy penalty by imprisonment and labor in the penitentiary for one term, not less than one, no longer than 5 years. First and foremost, under law, you could do whatever you wanted to do with slaves. This person's lying. You could rape, kill, destroy, dismember. A slave had no human rights. They could not go to court. This person's lying against the custom, and he's in Georgia. Come on. Okay. One of my ancestors, as I said, was raping a woman from Africa, and he's a preacher named Wiltshire. Okay. And they're all over. There's a white dude killing black folks in the prison down in Savannah now, who's the sheriff named Wiltshire. Probably in the same damn family as me. Okay. I'm just saying. Okay. So, no, there was nobody that's going to come in and intervene on behalf of black people. That's a damn lie. But what I will say to you is there's one place in the country, just one, that I've come across in all the time I've done research, where blacks could get lawyers to represent them for the most part on a consistent basis. It was Washington, D.C. The circuit court judge here, Judge Cranch, if blacks, there was a law between the interstate transshipment of slaves from Virginia to Washington, D.C., which is a federal district. If you lived in Alexandria and you brought slaves across the Potomac River, and that slave ran to a policeman, that person would be taken into police protective custody. The master would be sued and the black person freed. This made folks so mad. This is the reason Alexandria was re-annexed to Virginia, to make certain that slavery and slave property was protected. That's how much it bothered people that you got a slave to get away from you. Don't you believe this? But I'm reading it to you. I just want you to understand. But if you don't know your history, you will read this stuff, man, these people aren't so bad. No, they're very bad. You shouldn't own anybody. Hold on. Listen to this. And it is the duty of the inferior courts of several counties of Georgia, on receiving information on oath of any infirm slave in a suffering situation from neglect of the owner, to make a particular inquiry into the situation of such slave and render such relief as they in their discretion may think proper, and They are authorized to sue and recover from the owner the amount appropriated for the relief of such slaves. If black people couldn't testify in court against white people until after 1965, how do you think they were doing this in 1830? Cracker, please. Do you see how they're lying to themselves about how decent they are? Same way you lied that Jesus is white. I mean, everything's white. The Egyptians are white. Whatever we say it is, because we can kill you, we can lynch you, we can break up your family. Whatever comes out of our mouth is the word of God etched in stone. This is the psychosis, the psychopathy of white racism and white supremacy in America, that people are complete psychopathic, sociopathic liars about everything. This is why you use so much drugs. This is why there's so much suicide. This is why there are mass shooters and all this other stuff. Because in order to process life where you hate and you do all this stuff, it will make you crazy. I agree with Dr. King. It is a sick society. And there are other sick societies in the world, but most other sick societies don't put themselves out as being Christian or holy or city on the hill, or they represent all the democratic ideas. It's bullshit. This protection, which the benevolence of our laws has thrown around their persons, in other words, the courts, the legal system, which doesn't even work today for us, was protecting people who were chattel slaves with no human rights? To save them in old age and infirmity from want and wretchedness, the boasted philanthropy of Europe and the northern states have never extended to the poor an old white man. Double exclamation point. In other words, we treat our niggas better than the northern states and the Europeans treat free white labor. We're good to our niggas. I have told them, too, that a soldier of disobedience of orders may forfeit his life, while they, for similar offense, are only chastised. In other words, a soldier in the military can be executed for being disobedient. But they say, while they, black slaves, for a similar offense are only chastised. We only beat slaves. We shoot a white man. In other words, we treat black people better than we treat white people. DEI is giving all the jobs to blacks, and whites aren't getting anything. And mentioning the Tuskegee Airmen is stripping whites from airplane pilot jobs and air traffic controller jobs, and whites don't get anything because blacks get it all. And you and I know DEI benefits mostly white women, gays, Asians, and others. However, they get the benefit, we get the hatred, and DEI is another way to say hate niggers. Critical race theory is another way to say hate and oppress niggers. And look at everything being handed to black people, and they have too much. Look at how they get everything and how good they have and how bad we have it. If we had it so good, why is there the same health disparities then and now? Why is there the same disparities in income and so forth? Somebody's lying. Moderators, anybody that says anything stupid, time them out 24 hours. I don't have time for you. We don't have time for ignorant people. We don't have time for racist people. I don't have time for self-hating black people. If you're a self-hating black person, if the jab didn't get you, take yourself out. Do us all a favor. I mean that. So let me keep reading. Listen to this. While they for some offense are only chastised, because it is of interest of a master to preserve the health, vigor, and life of his servant, which produces a moral connection and attachment betwixt master and servant, that freak violence or misrule seldom severs. So look at how much we love our darkies. My God. Y'all like this book? It's called Advice Among Masters, edited by Breeden from 1980. This is a Virginia planter, 1834. In the management of Negroes, there should always be perfect uniformity of conduct towards them. That is, you should not be too rigid in your discipline at one time and too lax at the other. They should understand that real faults will not go unpunished, but at the same time, moderate punishment with the certainty of succeeding a fault is much more efficient in producing good conduct than severe punishment irregularly inflicted. That is sometimes inflicted for an offense, and at others omitted when the same or worse one is committed. For the ill disposed will always risk the chances of escaping punishment altogether. It is the certainty of punishment and not its severity which deters from misconduct, and in fact, after a while, on a well-regulated plantation, that certainty will prevent the necessity of inflicting punishments almost entirely. The best evidence of good management of slaves is the impartiality of treatment to be used towards them all. Unless for a particular conduct, then it should be understood as such. Now, going back to the previous thing where the person talked about the health, most slaves died before the age of 30. So the old age, they didn't live to old age. You worked into death. If they survived, I mean, basically, what are they going to do anyway? Where could they go? You took all the wealth and everything. I mean, what, you can't feed them? Okay. South Carolina planter, overseer, should I say, in 1836 said, for the breach of every rule, the certainty of punishment is everything. That means beat their ass every chance you get. If a Negro is permitted to go once unpunished for a fault, he will at any time afterwards do the same and risk being flogged. I have always discovered that where the overseer is positive that the Negroes are better disciplined, more mildly treated, and consequently more happy, once, however, the Negro has been punished, the fault should be overlooked. His spirit should not be broken down by continually reminding him of his past conduct. Let bygones be bygones, niggas. Not observing this rule has very often ruined some of the very best Negroes. I have frequently met with Negroes whom the whip would ruin, with a little flattery, with whom a little flattery could do everything. You're a good darky. Pick that cotton. Take my load of semen in your rear or your jaws, wench. Ah, you're not like the other darky girls. Okay. I have frequently met with Negroes whom the whip would ruin, with a little flattery could do everything. I will state an instance of the kind 10 years ago. I bought at an auction in Charleston a stubborn, ill-looking fellow sold as a runaway. Upon examination, I found that he had marks of having been repeatedly whipped. I asked the fellow the reason of this. He said it was because he could not do his work. I was convinced that Ben, for that was his name, had not been properly managed. Your slave ain't bad. Your slave management is bad. Slavery's not wrong. It's how you do your slavery is wrong. I accordingly purchased him at a reduced price. What is it? Slaves are us. I bought him at a reduced price, took him home, put him to work by the side of some of my best workers. I pointed out what I would require of him, and in a flattering way observed to the other fellows that I was now to give them a push. Now I said, Ben, I expect you to do your best. Keep close to those fellows. These are my good niggas. I put you with my Clifford and my Hakeem Jeffries and my Croc shit, that little silly bitch from Texas. Keep close to those fellows, and if you follow them up close. You may feel proud of yourself. He seemed pleased at my remarks, said he would, and commenced as if he intended to do his best. I left Ben to himself, and in a few hours after returning to where he was working, he was getting on exceedingly well, for which I complimented him. It was in this manner I urged him on throughout his day's work. That evening when he finished his task, did it well, and I went on pleased with himself. This was the first steps towards the reformation of Ben. By following up in my treatment, I so entirely reclaimed him in a few months from being a runaway and a rogue, and I made him one of my primest and trustiest Negroes. A South Carolina 1844 pointer wrote, Negroes who will not do their work like boys who will not get their lessons must sometimes be flogged. But a few stripes are all that is necessary. 15 or 20 lashes lightly inflicted are as much as should ever be given. For serious offenses, other punishments such as solitary confinement should be resorted to. Mass incarceration. And 1847 Virginia Planner, Rule 8. The hands must be made to obey and work, which may be done with strict attention to business with very little coercive means, much of which indicates a bad temper or an inattentive management and will not be allowed. Rule 9. Overseers should never, in correcting a slave on any occasion, unless in self-defense, kick or strike him with his hand or stick or with the butt end of his whip. 1849, Rules for Plantation Governance. Negroes must be made to obey and work, which may be done by the overseer who attends regularly to his business with very little whipping, for much whipping indicates a bad temper or inattentive manager. He must never on any occasion, unless in self-defense, kick a Negro or strike him with his fist or stick or the butt end of his whip. No unusual punishment must be resorted to without the employer's consent. Now, if master said, break that nigga's ass, do it. He is required never to whip a Negro to gratify his passion, which means people did whip black folks. S&M, in fact, let me just tell you a little bit about some of these Negro LGBTQ folks. There are a lot of black men getting HIV AIDS in New York and Chicago who sleep with white men to get what's this stuff called? Tina, crystal meth, and they get involved in what's called P&P or party and play. And let me just explain this to you. Party is drugs. Play is the sex. And so the black men who can't afford crystal meth sleep with white men who then beat, abuse, and do all kinds of crazy stuff to them. And of course, they get drugs in exchange and some sex. Do you really think that this stuff just started with the Pride movement? Do you think the ghetto gaggers were the white guys like gang orally sodomized black women? And so, you think this stuff is new? You don't think this stuff has been with us the whole time? Where the hell have you been? So the whipping and raping and all this stuff has always been a part of America, always. Just don't make it too graphic. And I'm disgusted when we talk about reparations that this should be front and center. We should shame the shit out of this country for all this filthy, vile stuff that's been integral to America since its inception. Now, let's see some people tell me that we don't need our damn motherfucking money if you start explaining what these folks have done. Oh, just forgive and forget. What, all the black men lynched for eyeball rape on centuries of rape and molestation and pedophilia and incest? Okay. He is not expected to punish the foreman. except on extraordinary emergency that will not allow of delay until the employer is consulted. Of the rule, the foreman is to be kept in entire ignorance. And a plan in 1850. In the infliction of punishment, it should ever be borne in mind that the object is correction. If the Negro is humble, if he's a coon, and appears duly sensible, again, if he's a coon, of the impropriety of his conduct, if you understand being white is the law, of his conduct, a very moderate chastisement will better answer than a severe one. We don't have to beat his ass. If, however, he is stubborn or impertinent, or perseveres in what you know to be a falsehood, a slight punishment will only make bad worse. If he's a militant, opinionated, self-respecting, unbuck-broken Negro, you gotta pop and bust that ass, or you're gonna have a bad, no good nigger on your hands. The Negro should, however, see from your cool yet determined manner that it is not a consequence of your excited temper, but of his fault for his correction that he is punished. You wanting to get paid for your labor, you wanting to get married, you wanting your family to be together, you needing a day off, that's your fault. It's your fault that you're poor. It's your fault that you can't afford medical care. It's your fault that you're homeless. It's your fault that we put highways through your neighborhood. It's your fault that you don't have access to credit. It's your fault that your credit redlined. Everything is your fault. It's you guys' fault. You're slaves. In fact, you're lucky to be our slaves. You weren't very good slaves. This is the mindset. It's always been here. And the problem isn't that they think this way. The problem is we think like the people that they broke back then, and we have no excuse today to be bigger slaves than the folks that they had to whip and beat down. And when I smell folks who reek of marijuana and drugs, and they're dirty and their pants falling off, and the women got bungee cord, ugly hair hanging off, and tattoos on their eyeballs and on their clitorises and all, and their boobs and all this, we're bigger slaves than the people that they had to manage and control. They had to make concessions to the people that they enslaved. And these days, we don't get any concessions, and we are voters. We got judge, lawyers, senators, and don't have shit. As a general principle of the legal maxim, it is better 90 and 9 guilty persons should escape than one innocent should suffer. It's correct. It is, however, exceptions. For instance, the Negroes take to killing your pigs or stealing your chicken and eggs. You cannot ascertain who are guilty. It is only necessary to put the whole crowd on half allowance of meat for a few days, and evil will end. Divide and conquer. Take butter biscuits from everybody, and folks will snitch and betray and counterpro and sell drugs and do black on black horizontal violence and betrayal, boule, divine swine bullshit. Take their stuff away, threaten people with stuff like they did in 1964, betray the blacks in Mississippi and Alabama, fighting for the right to vote, and you can get some choice jobs for a few black folks as long as you betray the collective uplift of black people. This is still plantation management. This is what happens. Hakeem Jeffries is guilty of this. Clyburn is guilty of this. All of these people that you look up to, entertainers and other people who stab us in the back, and we celebrate them as black first, black successful people. This is plantation management, 21st century style. The question is, are you a slave? Are you enslaved? I may be enslaved, but I am not a slave. They're talking about people who did not want to be slaves. If, you know, for example, if you're raised in a family where everybody's selling drugs, mama's making crack on the stove instead of grits, you can't help that. But if you decide, I'm not going to be a dealer, I'm not going to be in bullshit, I don't want this, even if it's around, because I've had people, my family had to get away from intolerable situations within the family. They didn't want to be in the bullshit. The problem with Black Americans today is we don't have any morality, a huge number of us, to say, I'm going to rise above as best I can of an intolerable, horrible situation. And I'm going to acquiesce to low intensity white supremacy. Low intensity white supremacy is like taking a train car full of guns into a black neighborhood and leaving it there so we can shoot and kill each other, or selling dope in the neighborhood, or prostitution, or working in child and family services and giving black children to white gay couples to molest the black kids. That's low intensity versus going in and raping someone or marching through a neighborhood with guns with your face covered in your face. Go to hell, niggas. Go the fuck back to Africa. Pick my cotton. And by the way, fight my wars and don't get benefits from the VA afterwards. That's not how you make it work, because that can make somebody mad. If you don't want movements, you don't want cohesion, don't put enough pressure on people so they will kind of like not come together. Which is why I could care less about some of the things happening now, because it's not such a bad thing if folks are being troubled by the new administration. Maybe we'll get some cooperation going. If you reek of marijuana, you should be ashamed of yourself. Nobody should be able to know what you do in private when you walk around. That's just vile. Why'd you want to smell like weed? It stinks. Um, we used to make fun of black folks when we had standards. If you were funky, people would embarrass you. We've really dropped to a low level when walking around stinking and looking dirty and grimy is acceptable. Being dirty, grimy, and stinky was how people who were in slavery were described. So when you walk around stinking and reeking, black folks, you're acting like slaves. You're not a free person. And when someone teaches you being high and out of your mind is freedom, they've made you a slave. And I'm waiting for, say, 10, 12 years from now when they find out that a lot of people are getting cancer and other problems from the genetically modified weed that they've pushed out there. If people have never given us anything good and they're pushing marijuana through our no good homo thug rappers and everybody else, and everybody's smoking, you're some kind of a coon to your own consciousness. That's what I have to say for the weed smokers. If you're not doing it for glaucoma or something else, you're somehow impairing your future. My friend who ran one of the best projects for helping youth, the biggest problem he had with young black people was they smoked weed so much they couldn't concentrate to learn job skills. They couldn't do anything because the weed incapacitated their drive. And there is a such thing as marijuana addiction. It's a lie that you can't be addicted to marijuana. It's a lie that there are negative traits to the constant smoke of marijuana. I had a white marijuana addict living next door, and he smoked weed all day. I prayed that God, he'd vomit that shit up. And one day, our house, a row house, I could hear him vomiting for hours. And he stopped smoking weed, but shortly thereafter, he got cancer. I don't know if he's alive now. Marijuana, anything that's been tampered with, GMO. eh, But anyway, pushing drugs in the neighborhood, getting people to use all this stuff is a form of social control. Black people who willfully use dope and drink and whore and pedophile and porn and all this other shit, that's license. That isn't freedom. Freedom are the Jews in Hollywood that are in California that make the porn that you buy, that dominate the internet. And by the way, licentiousness and nastiness is ascribed to black people, not the people that produce the kiddie porn and all this stuff. They're good, virtuous people that you better not criticize, or you're an anti-Semite. That's freedom. Being the face of degeneracy, it's another form of slavery. And the collective degradation of us as a group. Shame on any of our people that are into this. You should separate yourself from the things that your oppressor wants you to do. That's the most immediate thing you can do to free yourself. And if you're not moving away from degeneracy, self-destruction, the abuse of substances, you're part of the problem. We need some standards. People who ran away from slavery had standards. The people that didn't know they were enslaved had none. There are two types of black people: folks who at least are trying to be free, that have a standard, and black folks that are degenerate that don't. They're the slaves. The question, are you a fucking slave of choice? And there are books, there are people like me, we're all over it. There's no excuse other than you're a servant of the devil, that you're doing stupid shit with your mind, your life, and your body. If all this white supremacy, what about black degeneracy by choice? Let me finish this off. Again, if you cannot ascertain who are guilty, if you can't find the bad niggas that are getting enough protein to work my plantation because I ain't giving them enough, if they help themselves to the shit they raise, I'm going to find out who got some extra food. Cut in half the allowance of meat for a few days, and the evil will end. This remedy is better than a perpetual false and suspicion of all. In other words, if we can just isolate the few bad, troublemaking Negroes, we can manage the rest. Same way that they used Black Lives Matter to smoke out the grassroots activists and kill them all in St. Louis and kill them in other places or jail them. And they're still in jail. And all these freak degenerate LGBTQ type coons got rich and the real people got destroyed. This shit's still happening. We have hundreds of black political prisoners and there's no discussion. We have over 60 blacks in Congress and no one made an appeal, even with Biden, to free black political prisoners. Why is Assata Shakur being hunted and almost in her 80s? We let our heroes be destroyed, and we fight for ASAP Rocky's sweet hitting ass. Well, at least wearing a Scottish kilt. All right. Look, Mississippi planter in 1851. The humanity on the part of the overseer and unqualified obedience on the part of the Negro are, under all circumstances, indispensable. Whipping when necessary shall be in moderation and never done in passion, and the driver shall in no instance inflict punishment except in the presence of the overseer when, from sickness, he is unable to do it himself. You really think in Mississippi they like that? Let me see how much more of it. Oh my, I got a little bit more. Y'all want me to read a little bit more? I can stop in a second. 1851, planter. I do not punish often, but I seldom let an offense pass, making a lumping settlement and then correct the servant's remembrance. I find it better to whip very little. Young ones, being rather treacherous in their memory, pulling an ear or a sound box will bring everything right, yanking them by their ears. I'm almost afraid I will subject myself to the chimney corner theorist animadversion. If I say more, but I will risk it. Put up a huge log house with a good substantial door, lock and key, story 12 feet high, logs across above, as so to make a regular built jail. They've always had jails for black people. If you come to DC and y'all want to go to the DC Public Records Office, did you know that before you had kennels for dogs, prisons and jails were for holding black people, for, in particular, urban communities for safekeeping? The jails function as like a kennel for dogs. I'm going back to my country house out in the rural areas. Lock up my niggas till I come back. I'm just saying. People had an account with the local jails to lock up their black people like animals, and they had a little budget of what they would feed them, right? And don't beat them too much when I'm gone. I'm come back. Be good to my darkies, right? So build your own jail. Have holes near the ceiling, well protected by iron bars. The first Negro that steals or runs away or fights, or who is hard to manage, in order to get a day's work, must be locked up every night. As soon as he comes in from work, that's like a work release. Way before that shit started. There's nothing new under the sun, colored people. Must be locked up every night as soon as he comes in from work, and turned out the next morning, kept every Sunday. So you don't let him go to church to sing and shout. Negroes are gregarious. Black people need one another. They dread solitariness. If we deny black people their unity, we can break them. And to be deprived from a little weekly dance and chit chat. So if you don't get to gossip and talk about stupid sports shit, dumb fuck black men, or you don't talk about saving your community. It's in the hospital the other day. Niggas just talking sports. And he didn't get to start this year. It was, God, a lot of what black men think is this dumb fuck barbershop talk. I don't even, that's why I cut my own fucking hair to avoid dumbass black men in barbershops. Damn. It's just full of dumb fuck black men. It's shameful. Damn. Why be so loud when you're stupid? So weekly dances. So niggas got to boogie. That's how slavery was accommodated. Let niggas have fun. Let them get high and drunk on the weekend. But when the weekend's over, back to being a slave. And the words of the OJs by Gamble and Huff, living for the weekend, living for the weekend. That's when I party down, party hardy down. That's why Negroes waste all their money on the weekend. Our money leaves our community as we medicate with drugs, sex, stupidity, and a waste of time and dumbass gossip. And all of our money leaves. And even then, black folks had money and they'd buy whiskey and stupid shit instead of saving their money. Maybe they could buy their damn freedom. But if you don't plan for the future, same way people fuck amiss and make bastards they don't want. And then these kids are out doing the mass shootings in our community, like what happened in Alabama. It's a goddamn disgrace. Negroes need to get married, stop being whores, studs, and virgins. And don't tell me about white people breaking up our families and slavery. We're busting the shit up worse now. God damn us for being so sorry. They will work to death rather than to be shut up. That's why those Negroes with government jobs and black people with jobs will work and never leave a job, never speak up, be the biggest coon, snitch on everybody because they're afraid I'll be poor, I'll end up in jail, I'll be homeless. I'm ready to stab anyone in the back to hold on to my little government job. Man, this Trump shit has Negroes shook in Prince George's County. And all these Negroes with government jobs, they scared. They thought if we never spoke up, if we hid behind the hat chat, weren't in the deacon board of the church because they don't want to be politically active, don't go to PTA, never raise their voice, that they'd be secure as employed slaves. And Trump and them and this silly ass eat my butt aka Elon Musk and them, have done this shit with the Doge, with his homoerotic cortege of these boys with names like Big Balls that are fucking everything up. God help me. Would rather death than to be shut up. I know the advantage, though I have no jail, my house being similar to one, yet used for other purposes. An Alabama planter in 1850 wrote, I am seldom reduced to the necessity of punishing them. I seldom use the rod, but can cause them to work after other servants had finished their task. Georgia, 1854, an overseer said, I think it's wrong to make them believe or think that they're going to be whipped to death or nearly so for everything. If they form that opinion of you and find by experience that you will soon kill them as not, you may reasonably expect them to resist you to save their own lives. My rule is to whip or pull the ear or twist the nose or slap them for every offense when they know they're wrong, and to do it in accordance to the offense committed. If they do a great crime, I give them more chastisement, but always on the strictest rules of mercy. A Louisiana planter wrote in 1856, the object of all punishment should be, first, correction, to deter the offender from the repetition of an offense, and second, for the example to all others, showing them that if they offend, they will likewise receive a certain punishment. It is a certainty that the more than severity of punishment that prevents the crime. Never fail, therefore, to notice the breach of an established rule and be equally unfailing and punishing the offender justly, according to the natures and circumstances of the offense. Never inflict punishment when in passion, nor threaten it, but wait until perfectly cool, and until it can be done rather with sorrow than in anger. I'm sorry I have to brand you. I'm sorry I have to gang rape you. I'm sorry I have to beat you. I'm sorry I have to sell your kids. I'm sorry, darky. Whipping is the only punishment that will be permitted except in keeping the disobedient on their plantation. Whippings must never be cruel or severe. Let me read that. Whippings must never be cruel or severe, but may be repeated at proper intervals until most entire submission is obtained. Beat their asses until they do what they're told. Beat the rebelliousness out of that nigga until they're a good slave, until they're like Clyburn, until they're like Don Woman. I object to having the skin cut or my Negroes marked in any way by lash. And with proper care, this can always be avoided. I will most certainly discharge of any overseer for striking any of my Negroes with the club or the butt of his whip, or in any way injuring one of my Negroes. My Negroes are not to be abused or injured in any way, and at the same time, they must be kept under strict discipline, which can be accomplished by talking to them and punishing them moderately, but promptly and certainly. A South Carolina planter in 1857 wrote, it is desirable to allow 24 hours to elapse between the discovery of an offense and the punishment. No punishment is to exceed 15 lashes in cases where the overseer supposes a severe punishment is necessary. He may apply to the proprietor or to the esquire in the case of the proprietor's absence from the neighborhood. Confinement, not in the stocks, must be preferred to whipping. But the stoppage of Saturday's allowance, in other words, it was a little good nigger stipend. Saturday's allowance and doing a whole task on Saturday will suffice to prevent ordinary offenses. So don't cut out those butter biscuits. Special care must be taken to prevent any indecency in punishing women. Indecency in punishing women means that rape, grabbing someone's titty, uh, branding an ass, raping a woman as punishment. Rape as punishment, people. No driver or other Negro should be allowed to punish any person in any way except by order of the overseer and in his presence. The proprietor hopes that the overseer will remember that a system of strict justice is necessary to good management. No person should ever be allowed to break a law without being punished, or any person punished who has not broken a well-known law. Every person should be made perfectly to understand what they are punished for, and should be made to perceive that they are not punished in anger or through caprice. All abusive language or violence of the demeanor should be avoided. They reduce the man who uses them to a level with the Negro, and are hardly ever forgotten by those to whom they are addressed. So don't cuss. Use good standard church talk. Have a little talk with Jesus. Tell him all about your troubles. A South Carolina overseer said it is indispensable that you exercise judgment and consideration in the management of Negroes under your charge. Be firm and at the same time in your control. Never display yourself before them in passion. And even in inflicting the severest punishment, do so in a mild, cool manner. It will produce a tenfold effect. When you find it necessary to use the whip, and desirable as it would be, as it would be to dispense with it entirety, it is necessary at times to apply it slowly and deliberately to the extent that you're determined in your own mind to be needful before you begin. The indiscriminate and consistent excessive use of the whip is altogether unnecessary and inexcusable. When it can be done without too great a loss of time, the stocks, chaining them up like a dog or a hog or a horse. Listen to this. The stocks offer a means of punishment greatly to be preferred. Never threaten a Negro, but if you have an occasion of punishment, do it at once, or say nothing until ready to do so. A violent, passionate threat will often scare the best disposed Negro to the woods. Always keep your word with them in punishment as well as with rewards. Never forgive that in the one you would punish in another, but treat all alike. After all, nigger is a nigger. Showing no favoritism. Never be induced by a course of good behavior on the part of Negroes to relax the strictness of your discipline. Even if they're a good nigger, deal with them like they're bad nigger. But when you have a judicious management brought them to that state, keep them so by the same means. The only way to keep a Negro honest is to not trust them. This seems a harsh assertion, but is unfortunately too true. A Tennessee preacher wrote, "The Marxist sentimentalism that's pronounced against all corporate punishment and deals in moral suasion only must be deferred to the millennium." In other words, the idea that you don't need to beat black people's asses needs to happen when Jesus comes back. For the time being, get that ass, get that slave ass, okay? It does not suit the world as it is now and human nature as it is to resort to punishment as seldom as possible and to administer in such a manner as it will best accomplish its purposes. Individually and generally is a master's duty. Correction and prevention are its legitimate ends. Beyond these, he may not go, for anger is fierce and wrath cruel, and vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Now we come out with the Bible. Some masters have a code of laws as well understood as if written. If their household and plantation servants are well governed communities, a tribunal, they have a justice system on the plantation. A tribunal exists where complaints are referred, grievances redressed, and disputes settled. All transactions of a social nature proceed upon settled principles. They do not criminally trifle with their servants in words and promises, but consciously keep a good faith towards them and constrain them to keep it among themselves. The ear of the highest authority is ever open. It is counted no unworthy condescension to inquire into the disturbances of this subordinate empire to set the wrong right. Listen, subordinate empire means the inferior people's place. Us, a subordinate empire, a subordinate black nation. In other words, it's an awareness there is a white nation and there's a black nation. There's a crushed down, oppressed people that have a right to be free of their own accord that we're denying. Same way we deny reparations. The lowest functions of justice and judgment are not despised. This is worthy of all praise. In other words, it's godly to beat and abuse these people. A Mississippi planter. You, the overseer, are not allowed to take hold of the Negroes to whip them, nor to beat them with sticks or clubs, or in any manner that is most usual with the assistance of the driver and the other Negroes. If he starts to run and the other Negroes will not will not stop him for you, let him go. I don't believe that. We're almost done. I'm done with this chapter. Wasn't this good? This is an Alabama planter. They are taught to obey implicitly whoever I put over them, whether white or black. Then I hold the overseer or foreman responsible for the quality and quantity of the work. I will not have them abused, and when they disobey any of my rules, they are promptly punished and fully forgiven. I show no partiality, neither will I suffer it on this place. How do you like the advice among masters? You've lived all of this. It's never changed. Again, I read from chapter 6. Thank God for this $95 book that when you guys sent me donations, man, and it's hard to find this book anywhere. Advice Among Masters. Let me share something with you. Across the country, not a lot of blacks are in library science. When you get racist librarians who hate black history, a lot of the black books are purged from the libraries. A lot of these books are sold or discarded. They're sold to build up the funds for underfunded libraries. And so our history is being destroyed in real time, made to disappear. Books that you used to be able to buy for $1 are now $1,000, $400, $100. Things that I can refer you to, the Kerner Commission study. If you can get a copy for $20 or $30 or $50 or $100, you're lucky. They used to be 50 cents, used to be $2, a buck. Advice Among Masters. How'd y'all like that? I'm about to do another book. I hope y'all don't mind me doing a chapter at a time. Y'all like this? Who likes this? I want some likes up here. Y'all give me some likes. I earned them. I have a book on feminists. I have this feminist book. I want to do something on, because that was all white male. And what we have to do is show what feminists are really about. Y'all can't even see the book I just put in here. Y'all want me to give the feminists some? Should the feminists be embarrassed? Let me change my seat and let me turn this heat down, because now it's so hot. Let me see. Hold on. How y'all doing? The Republicans, it doesn't matter the party. It isn't the political parties. The real thing is, what's the collective will of organized, mobilized black people or for black people? It's what we will do for each other. Nobody else is going to do it for us. I don't know why that doesn't make sense to us. Okay? Y'all ready? What time? Oh, it's 11:27. I think I can do this for another few hours. And let me see. Let me change the light settings. I'm going to read a little. I've got a couple of these really good books. But I've been wanting this book for over 40 years. I want to thank you, all the folks that donated, even the people that gave $2 and $3. It took a long time. If y'all want me to read more, y'all want me to read a little bit more from this? I want to read the religious shit. Can I do something from the religion? I won't do the whole thing. Can I read something from the religion chapter? What you guys say? Because this religion shit, I'm a religious Negro. I come from preachers, but by the way, I'm gonna tell you guys a trade secret. A lot of preachers do cocaine. And so I used to think when the preachers had all the white salt and shit in their clothes, I thought it was sweat. Some of that shit's coke. It's coke. Yeah, I'm a snitch and I don't like crooked ass preachers. I can't even hold that shit back. I mean, just go off on some preachers in here. Betraying our people. If our people be getting proper moral instruction, they would stand up. They say no to some of this shit. It don't take much. Well, let me see. Because religion is how they control and justify shit. Let me see how long this chapter's not too long. This stuff is, it's good to me. I could do this. I'm going to do one more chapter. Let me adjust the light. Let me adjust my light in here because I don't like this fluorescent light. It annoys me. And yes, Lord, I have some incredible stuff. I feel like doing, oh my God. Let me see. I got a couple of these. And I hope you like this new system where I don't read the whole book because it can get tired. Um, Let me see. I'm going to get some other books that are anti-feminist. I love anti-feminist books. Oh, God. I'm so tired of dumbass women running after feminists. They don't give a shit about black women. Dumbass black women running after these hoes. Hate our guts. Okay. And y'all need to know the Angry Black Men's Book Club is going to be talking. Hey, Brother Mizell. Hello to everybody. You guys, can I do a song? Should I do a song? Y'all want me to do a song so we can break it up because that was miserable. I want you guys to feel better. I know. I mean, it's miserable as hell. I get it. Um, and let me see. I'm gonna put my GoFundMe in because I gotta do something, man. When I went in today, man, they gave me some rough ass news on my mom, man. That's like wild. It's crazy. That's one of the reasons I gotta do this. I was told by my doctor, part of my healing from cancer is to do things that I enjoy doing. And you have no idea how much I miss doing this. I was miserable. I'd get depressed. I buy these books and want to share it. I enjoyed teaching to the people that wanted to learn. I had adult learners. It was so cool. They weren't like the dumbass young black people that don't get it. Um, and the adult learners was so wonderful. My biggest problem was the people kept accusing me of this one woman told me I made her into racist against white people, and I told her I don't even say stuff like that about white folks. I'm talking to y'all straight. Anybody knows me, I talk the same to everybody. White, black, I can't deal. I hate racism. I don't hate people. I don't want anybody to hate anyone. If I had it my way, everybody would like each other. But that's not the way it is. So I'm putting up my GoFundMe. They gave me this crazy ass story about what my mother's situation was. That's my GoFundMe. And I appreciate it because you guys need to know, folks were good. We were able, my God, to put out like $2,000 in co-pays and out of pocket shit. It's when you're on a fixed income and all this crazy shit happens, you got to pay for it. So that's my GoFundMe. Please share that around moderators. It's on my StreamYard. Um, that is, share that with people. Um, I'm either taking care of my mother or I'm investing in material to share with you. Pray for me to be well enough to share all the books that I can. And I want to do this as often as I can. I also want to let people know you can always email me. It's about to warm up. Consistently above, say, 65 degrees. I am down for doing genealogical research for you guys. And because people have been good to me, if people want me to do research for them, I'm going to have a sale, a special. All you have to do is let me know that you subscribe to the Angry Black Men's Book Club. And if you're an ABMBC subscriber, I will be down for doing genealogical research for people at less than what I ask people for. I really want people to know their families. The answer to a lot of this is for us to put our families together. And I don't care if your family's white, I don't care what I people need to know who they are, who they're connected to. And we better come together because the economy could go this recession shit that Trump's talking about. We better know who we're connected to. All you folks from Rocky Mount, North Carolina, Elm City, all you folks from Lincolnton, Georgia, Evans, Georgia, Augusta, Georgia, Milledgeville, Georgia, Sandersville, Georgia, Thompson, Georgia, uh, Greensboro, Georgia, Savannah, Georgia, Macon, Georgia, Buckeye, Georgia, Dublin, Georgia, Glasscock County, Georgia, all of you from Darlington, South Carolina, all you folks from Southside Virginia, all of you from Southern Maryland, all you Negroes from Pennsylvania, Harrisburg, and Philly, all you Negroes with the name Lancaster and Short in Delaware, um, all of you folks from Alabama. I got family all over this. We got to come together. The answer is unity of people able to deal with what the problem is. Okay. And so, absolutely, yeah, I want to do a song because trust me, I don't like. Sometimes I read these books and they upset me so much. I don't like. I have black movies and documents. Sometimes I can't watch it. I don't want to walk around angry or hating folk. I just don't want it. I don't want to be bitter. I want to be better. But you got to deal with it. The same way I'm learning family history, some really horrible shit. I had no idea people in my family got killed in Wilmington, North Carolina. That rocked me. I didn't know I had family in East St. Louis where they did a genocide. That rocked me. I didn't know they flooded Little Egypt in North Carolina. That rocked me. Mm, right? You follow what I'm saying? This stuff is very unpleasant, but I got to understand why my grandparents were so silent, why they wouldn't talk about stuff. And by the way, when we don't know about these things, we're not really able to process reality because we don't know what it's all about. So, and I'm not trying to introduce you to this stuff to hate anybody. Okay, I'm not like a lot of niggas. I'm 100% African. It's not so. I'm significantly African, of which I'm comfortable. I like it, but I'm just saying. I'm part Russian. I'm part Welsh. Damn, I'm 1% Icelandic. I mean, that shit's crazy. I've even been to Iceland. I accept my humanity, and we black people have lived everywhere, so we should be smarter than other people. And I got to say something. I got to go off on this nigga preacher named Gaither. I don't want people to eat cats or dogs. I love cats and I love dogs. But I've been to Korea and these people eat dogs in Korea and their economy is good. Korea's economy was built up in part by black people and other taxpayers. Haiti has been torn down by America for hundreds of years. These people have been made desperate. Folks making a minimum wage of 45 cents an hour, what can they afford? Rotten American meat that's withdrawn from our stores is sold in Haiti at a premium. Their farms and things are destroyed by American foreign policy, by USAID and others. And then we beef about how Haitian people make it. And this Bishop Gates is that bald headed, effeminate acting nigga preacher that talks too damn much. Long ass, drone ass voice. Uh, Sat up and said some vile shit about Haitians. You're a preacher. You should be advocating that Haitian people that came through American policy the right way shouldn't be treated like the people who came here illegally. If there's any group of black people in the country that should be here, especially if they came in the right way, Haitians. America has done everything it could to destroy Haiti from the 1790s to now. I'm not trying to say Haitians all get it. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I got a lot of friends. In fact, a lot of us have Haitian roots. I do. Friends do. I don't hate people from Haiti. I don't want anyone eating cats or dogs, but I'm going to say this so everybody gets this shit. I love Chinese food. And I'm not certain that it's beef or chicken I've been eating. I like Chinese. My mother craved Chinese food when she was pregnant with me. I probably eat more cats and dogs because I could afford it than any Haitian ever tried to. And all of us who have these little corner greasy spoon Chinese stores have been eating cat and dog and everything else for years. If it's good for us who are trying to make it, then it's good for the Haitians. And when white folks complain about black people eating cats and dogs, when they've killed the pigs and cut down their coffee trees and destroyed the land, steal their resources, rape their children, take over United Nations people over there to rape. There are 100,000 Haitians who are bastards of soldiers the United States had put in there under Hillary Clinton's whore ass. And you got a problem with someone where their army and their police were dismissed and they were replaced by American funded drug gangs and human traffickers. And we're talking about cats and dogs. What about the damn people in Haiti? What about the uridium that they're stealing? What about out of $13 billion, they didn't build 100 homes. They built hotels for people to rape Haitian children. What about the fact the only country in the world that offered black people a place to get away from white oppression is Haiti? They did welcome us. President Boyer of Haiti, in defiance of the United States, welcomed black Americans in. That's why a lot of us have Haitian family. We need to be smarter than we are angry. Even these slave masters talk about being dispassionate in the execution of punishment of slaves. We should be dispassionate when these issues come up. So when you hear me trashing whoever I trash in my songs, Haitians are not on the list of people that I'm tripping off of needing to be sent back. However, they're Haitian gangsters and drug dealers. Yes, their asses should go. But Haitians that came here the right way, Haitians who did things the right way, need to be treated with love and compassion. And actually, Haitians who haven't learned Black Americans' history, you're trifling. You need to understand that a lot of people in America, all of us with family in Louisiana and Southern Alabama and Florida and other places, have Haitian ancestors. In the Dominican Republic, 1 in 10 Dominicans is a descendant of Black Americans. We're more related to people in Jamaica, Trinidad, Guyana, uh, Barbados, and even Cuba than we are to any other people in the world. I'm not saying that people like us, I get it. We need to figure out what we share in common and how we can at least respect each other. That's the least that you can ask. All the patience and forgiveness that we show white people, and we can't do this for one another. And I'm talking about you foreign Negroes too. You can understand the French who fuck over you in the Banlieue in France, and you can't understand Black Americans, French-speaking Africans, And crusty people in Britain, you Windrush niggas that they don't even want in England talking this shit to us. We may be the only people that frighten the government of Britain. In fact, we do. The reason you got civil rights in Britain was they saw us burning up America. And right on the heels of the black civil rights movement, they accorded civil rights to blacks in Britain and in Canada. We need to know each other's history, and it's trifling that we don't know, that we're not trying. Now, again, for everybody listening, anyone who is so inclined to support the recovery of a mother and son, both of us with advanced stages of cancer. I don't know how the hell that happened, but it did. My GoFundMe is www.gofundme, GoFundMe.com/F/mother, MOTHER -SON HEALING -A community COMMUNITY -call. Send something. Like I said, I gotta pay. There's some stuff I'll be telling you about. So let me say, I would need to do a song. I want to do a song. I just do. I need to do something goofy. I need to do something goofy. I'm gonna do something goofy. Y'all ready for me to do something goofy? I'm trying to think of which one I should do. I'll do some of this. Okay, are y'all ready? I'm gonna just do a little bit of it. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Okay. Are y'all ready? There are 22 people over here, 10 over here, 37 over here. Illegals! Illegals! Rednecks won and you gotta go home. Illegals. Rednecks won and you gotta go home. You got no green card, you better run. Rednecks won and you gotta go home. You shoplifting grifters running guns. Rednecks won and you gotta go home. Hey, Mr. Migrant Man, your ass ain't no vagina. Rednecks won and you gotta go home. Hey, hey, Mr. Migrant Man, you selling kids' vagina. Rednecks won and we gotta go home. Pick 'em up, family the bunch. Rednecks won and you gotta go home. I'm gonna get paid for a bounty, a hunch. Rednecks won and you gotta go home. Illegal, illegal. Rednecks won and you gotta go home. Illegals. Rednecks come and you gotta go home. Illegals. Illegals. Let's sing together. Rednecks won and we gotta go home. Illegals. Rednecks won and you gotta go home. You got no green card, you got to run. Rednecks won and you gotta go home. You guys selling, you gangsters who are making guns. Rednecks won and you gotta go home. Rednecks won and you gotta go home. Rednecks come and you gotta go home. Y'all like that? So, when they piss you off, just say, Rednecks won and you gotta go home. Hey, Mr. Migrant Man, your ass ain't no vagina. Rednecks won and you gotta go home. I'ma save. I've got two other songs, but how y'all like that? So, y'all wanna do it? Let's do it one more time. Got no green card, you better run. Rednecks won and you gotta go home. Ely, illegals. Rednecks won and you gotta go home. Hallelujah. Let me change the light settings. Okay, let me get this done. Oh, look at Fairfax. How you doing, Fairfax? The original Fairfax was black. I don't know if he knows that. One of these days. Hold 1 second. Ah, change the lighting. Mm, mm. Y'all ready? Who liked the song? I don't see no likes. Y'all need to sample that shit. Okay, let me do one more thing, because this thing is not comfortable to sit on. Give me 1 second here. I think that'll be better. Yes. My behind thanks you. Now, let's read some more. Mr. Breeden. We're going to do some religion. This is cool. I think I'm going to get to this before 12:10. Oh, look at this. Did this page come out? This book is cheaply bound. That's okay. I'll take it. Mm. This book is not well bound, but I'm thankful for it anyway. I'm in chapter 12 of Breeden. Let me get one more thing. I want to make certain I'm nice and comfortable. Let me. Okay. Hold one more second. Whew. Oh my God. Mm, man. Let me make certain. I hate this freaky weather. Mm. The temperature. Okay. 76. 20. Okay. That's okay. I don't care. I want this book. I have to pay for it. I need to get rid of, exterminate one. Just someone tells how paranoid. I'm not paranoid. Let me see. Okay. Okay. Mm. Oh, let me get up in here. Okay. Back. I and where I put my eyes? Oh, my eyes are here. Whew. Okay. And I just got this one. This cost me a whole bunch, but I finally got my copy of Slavery by Another Name. When I get through doing the women's stuff, we're going to be talking about Reconstruction, racism, self defense, all of that. This is a really good book, Slavery by Another Name, which basically, for all the people that say, oh, well, slavery ended 100 years ago, bullshit. I have an ancestor that white people took down in, I think, Wilkes County, Georgia. God, that's not neat. I'm just trying to be warm. I don't care how it looks. I had an ancestor who was a woman, and some white folks just took her. Just we want this nigga. They took her and was separated from her family, and no one ever knew. I found her in the census, not far, but no people were afraid to find because they'd probably come kill you if you complain. And she was someone's slave. This is in the 1940s, okay, maybe into the 50s. They came, they took, and that's just how it is. So when people say slavery ended in the 1865, bullshit. I had people who were slaves in my family in the 1950s in Georgia. Not all my family, but a branch of my family. A lot of us had folks who basically still slaves in places like Louisiana, Mississippi, and where folks say, "Oh, reparations has been so many." Not for all of us. Slavery by Another Name is a classic. So part of what we'll be doing in the Angry Black Men's Book Club is looking at things like self-defense, reparations. I'm going to add. I'm going to start trying to do this on Sunday. Is talking about religious topics. One book I got, which all the confused Negroes that grew up going to church with stupid ass black pastors who never told the truth. This is a good book called Jesus in the Talmud by Peter Schaefer. And y'all don't know what the hell Judaism is. You need to know about the Talmud, and especially what it says about Jesus. The next time someone calls you a name, I'm going to take some readings from this. Y'all will be different once you understand what the Talmud says about Jesus. Don't blame me. I'm not judging anyone. I'm just taking by what people say. Worthwhile book. So I'll try to do that Sunday, and I'll probably do something on feminism. All right. I'm just giving announcements. Please don't get mad at me. And we're going to do this for a while. See, I took those drugs. I feel better. Mm, And thank God for drugs. If you use them the right way. So, Slavery by Another Name by Douglas Blackaman. And the subtitle is The Re-Enslavement of Black Americans from the Civil War to World War II. There's a thing called peonage. They would even murder black people to cover up the fact that they had slaves. There's a case in Alabama where they drowned maybe about 20 black people to cover up the fact that they had blacks enslaved. They murdered them. Nobody really got in trouble for it. And I'm probably going to try to do something on Ulisti, Florida, where hundreds of black American soldiers in the Union Army were massacred and nothing's been done. There's nothing done about it. Nothing. This is the kind of thing DeSantis and them don't want you to know. And to this day, white people have celebrations on top of the remains of these blacks that were butchered. Nothing was done. No one got in trouble. The history of this country is very bloody. It's very ugly. It's shameful. And this is why we don't entertain any comments from racists from anywhere that beef and bitch about us talking about this intelligently, going to the sources, not going by opinion. For anybody that has Amazon Prime, treat yourself to this film. I bought a copy. It's called The Soundtrack of a Coup d'etat. It shows how the U.S. government used black entertainers to destroy the government of Patrice Lumumba in the Congo. And it's, again, Soundtrack of a Coup d'etat. It's on Amazon Prime, or you can get a copy for a DVD for about $13 on Amazon. The Soundtrack of a Coup d'etat. You want me to type this up there? Because I know a lot of our people don't listen. It's a shame. Some of y'all asses, I don't know how you got through school. When I was in school, sometimes the teachers would say it once, if you didn't get it, fuck you. They've made people really dumb where you have to repeat and write everything. If you're that slow, you need to get faster. The teachers sometimes may mention a piece of the name of a book or a title, and they'll say Breeden. That's a Slave Advice Among Masters, a book I'm reading from. It was mentioned once the entire time I was in the university. I took notes, remember this book, and try to find it. And the teacher to make it available, and they didn't do Xerox handouts. I mean, mention it. If you find it, it's your problem. If you don't find it, it's your problem. You go to the card catalog and look. You guys can go on your phone, put Advice Among Masters, find a copy. We have no reason to be ignorant or backwards today. Information's in your hands, but what's not in our hands is the will to be free and empowered by knowledge. Let me type this up here for all of the weak-minded people who need everything to be said 10 and 12 times, and you motherfuckers are coming late. I'm not, this isn't school. When I was a teacher, let me just tell you, sorry-ass black students, they come to class 30 minutes late and ask you to start it because they didn't come on time. Fuck you. This is recorded so you can watch the whole damn thing. I don't repeat myself. I don't do recaps. And you don't pay for it. Most of you don't give anything anyway. I'm not worried about it. But for those that do, thank you. You can always go back and replay it. Ask me to go back and repeat all the shit I've said. I've been at this for 2.5 hours. Oh, God. Cat, leave me the hell alone. You need to get a boyfriend. You have one that keeps busting your nose. And you've eaten. Yeah, you have eaten. Don't sass me. I'm going to put this up here. And that's the DVD. This is the film that you guys, it's called Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat. That's what I'm holding up here. It's a good film. If you want to understand the genocide that's going on in the Congo, it's a background to it. It's never ended. I highly recommend you watch this. It's put out by Kino Lorber Films. Johann Gimon Press made the film. I just put it up there for you to see. Without further ado, and let me see, I'm going to give two more titles, things I have coming in. This I had to get from the communist publisher called International Publishers. This is called Armed Struggle: The Panthers and Communists, Black Nationalists and Liberals in Southern California through the 60s and 70s. This is talking about armed struggle from the perspective of our communist historian, Gerald Horne. Uh, Look at how thick this is. I have a lot of Gerald Horne's books. I'm not a communist, but you can always learn from everybody. I read racists and everybody else. I can read a communist person. Um, so you'll find this worthwhile. Gerald Horne is a fine leftist historian. He has a lot of stuff that's worth reading. Okay, but this is a book that you won't hear about. This is why we have this push books. I don't want Armed Struggle. Another really nice book, if you can find, since you want a primary source. This is a book called The United States Governed by 600,000 Despots by John Swanson Jacobs. This is a book written from a series of articles about an escaped slave that made it to Australia. And this is something you can get on Amazon. Again, if you ever have a question about anything I'm talking about, you can always write me at DrRandyShort at gmail.com. I do give advisement. If you're interested in doing genealogy, especially once it gets above 65 degrees, which I think towards the end of this month, I'm reopening my genealogical research because now it's warm. I don't have to worry about getting sick. And we're going to have the Angry Black Man Book Club discount sale special. And that's going to be fun. I'll talk to you about that later. Now we're in religious instruction. Do I need some liquid refreshment? Yes. I'm going to give myself another whack of orange juice. Yes, I am. And again, this is advice among masters. Oh, yes, I am. Oh, shoot. Chapter 12, Religious Instructions. And let me do a couple more of these before I get into this. And since I'm drinking orange juice, I want to remind you guys a book that I'm going to read from eventually. It's called Devil in the Grove. I keep mentioning it, by Gilbert King. It's a fine white historian that has a bunch of books about how badly treated blacks are in Florida. If you wonder why nasty, crusty DeSantis is always complaining about history. Gilbert King has another book, talks about a black child who was like mildly retarded, who was accused of a rape and executed. Wow. And all in Florida. You want to understand what's going on in Florida. Another book that used to be super hard to get. You can get copies now. It's called Before Its Time. The first martyr of the civil rights movement wasn't John Lewis. It was Harry and Harrietta Moore, blown up Christmas Day, 1951. The NAACP used him as a fundraiser. Before his time, he was got 100,000 blacks registered to vote in Florida, and they murdered him and his wife. They blew up the whole house with the men, never convicted the people. So I'll be looking at Florida, Pennsylvania, critical places in the country. I'm just putting this stuff out here. I want you guys to know. And let me see. I got a couple other things I want to whip out. Yeah, I want to, again, bring a couple of books to you guys' attention. If you can get used copies, this Routledge series, I mentioned one before, it's a good one. Killing African Americans Get used copies. When I get donations, I try to get the least expensive book I can, stretch the generosity of my dear supporters. Killing African Americans, police and vigilante violence as a racial control mechanism. This is New Critical Viewpoints on Society series from Routledge Press. This is from England. They have another one, Racism in the Neoliberal Era, a meta history of elite white power. I just got this, and it's paperback. I paid almost $50 for this. I'm going to be reading from this soon. I may start doing social justice stuff and religion on Sundays. Got to get this stamina back up. And another nut series, I've done this before, Violence Against Black Bodies, an intersectional analysis of how Black lives continue to matter. Okay, and anything that I put up here, you can always ask me about. Okay, that was my favorite activity with my mentors, as we would talk about books. And I got two more. This is something I've got to read from. FBI's talks about how J. Edgar Hoover, the little mulatto director of the FBI, who helped kill Dr. King and Malcolm X and others, how they manipulated LGBT and other Black folks to control the intellectual writings and thoughts of Black people. The FBI, yes, people are very concerned about Black culture. The intelligence community is involved in Black art and music and movies to manipulate us. It's not just the FBI, the CIA, and others are involved. Same way that they stimulate violence in Black music and degeneracy in Black music. This has been going on for over a century, and it's always happened. In fact, proof of that is the assassination of one of the earliest people assassinated for writing. I have a copy of this. This is David Walker's Appeal, written in 1827, 1829, thereabout. I'm going to read some of this as well. So I've been just like collecting, purchasing, building up, and I got one more book, and I'll get to our chapter 12. Papers on interracial problems communicated to the First Universal Racist Congress held at the University of London, July 26th through 29th, 1911. A lot of what has hijacked Pan-Africanism started in 1911. Other people who came into Pan-Africanism long after Black Americans had had it as in the early 1800s and made it for everybody. And in reality, we pioneered it, and these folks didn't even include us. And that's part of what it is. If you've ever dealt with people and you're doing international shit, they never want to deal with the Black American situation. That includes Africans and Caribbeans. Just gonna call your asses out. And that started back in 1911. Okay. So it's been over 100 years. So everyone talk about tethers and shit. It started in 1911. 1911, people. We've been dealing with this bullshit for a long time. We're finally waking up. We have to stop being so slow as Black Americans. And I'm not mad, and I'm not against people coming together. But this is involving everybody and lift up everybody and all this kind of stuff. Notice universal races, another word for people of color. We're contending with other forces that wish to get our effort, but are not interested in our struggle. Without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this information that I'm sharing. Let me get into religious instruction, chapter 12 of Advice Among Masters, edited by Breeden in 1980. As owners of slaves are to some extent responsible for their morals, it behooves them, yea, it is their imperative duty, while providing for their bodily comforts, to impress their minds with the importance of observing as far as they are capable, the precepts of the Bible, which have been given to us as a rule of action. Hold on. Wow. Religion, I need to make this clear, that there was always opposition to religious instruction to slaves. What people got was propaganda. People got a fake Christianity to teach people to submit to white sexual abuse, enslavement, selling, all of that's God's will. They weren't given the Bible. I have a copy of the Slave Bible, which is completely manipulated, all kinds of stuff removed from the Bible as to brainwash people. Whenever you listen to this, understand that these people are pathological liars. Now, let me read. Religious instruction served two related purposes on the southern plantation. It was a means of teaching slaves morality and obedience, and thereby enhancing the master's social control, not Christian morals or values or how they should be treated. And to this day, black churches teach obedience and social control, not liberation, not group uplift, not empowerment. The black church, as it's presently constituted as a Ponzi scheme business, T.D. Jakes and Jamal Bryant being gross examples, these people are teaching us to be submitted to one political party or the other, or one agenda or the other. They get paid on the backside by whites who use these people as agents of social control, not of the gospel, not of holiness, not of freedom or justice or service of the poor. Do not participate in Jamal Bryant's boycotts. And Lent, the 40-day period, is pagan. It has nothing to do with the Bible. It's purely satanic. And of course, that's all Jamal Bryant can bring forward anyway. He's sorry, so is his mom. I'll read it again. Religious instruction served two related purposes on southern plantations. It was a means of teaching slaves morality. And whose morality? Racist, white supremacist morality. And obedience to what the force said, and thereby enhancing the master's social control. Writers on slave management repeatedly emphasized the former as the master's Christian duty, but rarely called attention to the latter. Most of the discussion of slave religion was concerned with its content, but was not concerned with its content, but rather with the most effective means of religious instruction. A mixed picture evident in this chapter's reading emerged. As in the case of healthcare, the approach adopted tended to depend on the perspective of the particular master and the number of slaves involved. On some plantations, there were regularly scheduled services. On others, religion was left to the slave populations. Some masters allowed religious instruction to be conducted only by trained ministers, translation, white ministers. On some plantations, services were held in the quarters, aka slave quarters, and in others, there were slave churches. Get that, a slave church. What do you think they taught people in the slave church? They taught people to be slaves, and that's the beginning of the grifter, liar, Reverend Chicken Bone nigger preachers that we have today. People who serve white supremacy life while faking that they're spiritual leaders and guides of black Americans. It never was the case. No damn good. Some masters, again, permitted slaves to choose their spiritual leaders. On some plantations, okay, here we go. To many of these writers, the ideal method for the religious training of slaves was the oral instruction conducted by the master or minister in the form of catechisms prepared explicitly for this purpose. Catechisms are basically pro slavery, anti black slogans couched in religious sounding talk, like slaves obey your masters and all this other kind of stuff. That is foundational for much of what black stupid people think is the Christian religion. If you don't read the Bible and study it for yourself, if you grew up in the church with some dumb fuck collard green eating and cornbread eating preacher who's ignorant, who's probably screwing everyone's wife and all the kids in the church are his, that ain't Christianity. That's slave culture, 21st century. We've never had a uniform system of true Christian practice in the black community. It would have never been tolerated by white folks. And it would have been feared by free black people who don't want to make white folks angry. And you get rare instances of a Denmark VC or a Nat Turner, some of these people, but for the most part, the same way most black churches were against Dr. King and civil rights and everything. Black people who are religious, so-called religious leaders, have typically been against the people. It's really a good part-time job. Tax-free money and free pussy. I mean, it's a great incentive. In fact, it's easier to make in the church than in show business. Okay. A planter in 1837 wrote, if there be a church in the vicinity of the planter's residence, he should oblige all of his Negroes to attend it at least once a week. It has an excellent effect. Most Negroes take Sunday as their day of visiting, and if not unfrequently happens, they do more mischief on that day by colleaguing or gathering themselves than on any other. In other words, church is a form of social control. You can watch them. If you don't see, it's not about their souls. We need to know where all the niggas are. They have them in church. Let them scream and shout. We can watch them. Now, the attendance upon the church permits them to meet their friends and relatives there, and at the same time, it keeps them out of mischief. It is rare that anyone can attend a house of religious worship without gaining some wholesome information. In other words, churches serve as a precursor to the FBI and Bossy in New York and Black Death. These are agencies within police departments that spy on black people. The church has always been, the fake black church, which is most of them, has always served to oppress black people. It's not Jesus in the Bible. It isn't the Bible itself. It's crooked, liar, grifter, nigger preachers, and also lying whore-ass, stud-like evangelist, and other people practicing juju and everything else, calling it Christianity. White folk haven't practiced Christianity towards black people, and crooked black folks, often under the Masons or the Boule today, don't practice it either. Black folks consider themselves to be Christians and don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. And I put the title up. I'm going to have to excoriate, please. When I read a book, I'm now taking the time to put the title on the screen. If people are too lazy to read it, you need spiritual help. Right? Y'all can see it. Advice among masters. So they gain wholesome information, which means the pastor that you confess shit to goes back and tells master for extra butter biscuits and privileges. Black preachers, a lot of them have always been agents of social control of white supremacy. And the slave will generally learn at such places the reasons which sanction the master to exact of him his respective duties. In other words, the church teaches them to be slaves. The church does not teach them love neighbor as self, a workman's worthy of his hire. That's not what's taught. You don't even have this now. You don't see black churches fighting for the minimum wage to be increased. No, you don't. Where are they? They want their 10%, and they don't give a fuck how you get it. I would never attend such a church. I would never tithe to such a church. If you go to a church and they're not actively engaged in trying to help black people, you should never go there. If everybody left the fake ass black churches, those Negroes wouldn't be able to pay for their Bentleys and their jets and send their kids to private schools, and they wouldn't be able to live in gated communities when you're homeless. We need a rebellion against the crooked, no good black pastors just like the Boule. We need an anti clerical movement against no good black preachers. None of them should have any money. In fact, COVID's one of the best things that ever happened to the black churches. Shut a lot of those fucking holy juke joints down. Let the church say amen. A Mississippi editor wrote, "The fanatics of the North and foreign countries have no idea the deep anxiety entertained by our planets upon uh, the subject announced at the head of this article, the moral culture of slaves. The slaves on our large plantations are not regarded by us as so many beasts of burden or dumb brutes, as is falsely stated, but they are regarded by the owner, provided he be an intelligent and upright man." But then again, you're qualifying. How many of them are intelligent and upright? "As moral beings whose welfare, both mental and bodily, are entrusted to his charge by an all-wise providence." In other words, God made slavery. And these good, righteous, holy men of God who would never have sex with their slaves or beat anyone are here to make certain that these people are ushered into heaven after working for no pay. To him, they look up not only for food and clothing, but for such instruction by precept and example as will give a stamp, either for good or evil, to their character. Principles, either salutatory or pernicious, are at the foundation of all conduct, and even slaves may be taught to do right on principle. Let no one sneer at this, for it is among the colored race to say whether we utter anything absurd, nay, whether we tell not that which is clear as the sunbeam, that a Negro can, by proper instruction, be taught to act right from principle. Act right for them means do whatever they're told. This being premise, which we have no doubt will be admitted by all of our readers, the question arises, of course, will be solved in many different ways. That is, how shall the minds of slaves be operated upon so as to instill into them correct principles of action? On this subject, we have reflected much, and we have inquired much of those who have had the best opportunities of judging. And the result is that we are confirmed more strongly than ever in the opinion that we have long entertained. The best way to operate upon their minds is through religious truth. The reason of our opinions, it is hardly necessary to give, we presume, for we think the most of our readers are men who believe and acknowledge the divine origin of Scripture. The great duty, then, to be performed is not to convince Mississippians of the importance of instructing their slaves in the principles of religion, but to point out the best methods. Here, happily, we are not left in the dark to grope our way with untried theories, for many planners, both in this state and in Louisiana, have long been pursuing a systematic plan in this matter, and, as we're happy to learn, with the most pleasing results. Indeed, so far back as 1835, when the lamentable excitement took place in the country as a consequence of the mad schemes of the Negro's worst enemy, abolitionism, measures were in extensive progress on many of our plantations, which bade to fair to produce highly beneficial effects upon our black population. But the benevolent schemes of our planners were nipped in the bud, and the amelioration of the moral condition of their servants was set back at least 10 years. What is he saying? After Nat Turner, folk didn't want any religious instruction among black people. The fundamental lie that's being taught by a conscious community, nigger traders in our community, is that Christianity makes people slaves. It's not true. Genuine Christianity, as taught in the Bible, makes people rebellious. Fake Christianity, occultic, white racist supremacy, or black inferior nigger preacher Christianity teaches subservience. Jim Jones' gospel, T.D. Jakes' gospel, Creflo Dollar gospel, Jamal Bryant gospel, Al Sharpton gospel teaches people to be quiescent and calm, or gay affirming, trans affirming, illegal affirming, help everybody, people of color affirming, or Reverend Barber, that fat, greasy preacher from North Carolina. So they didn't want any religion. It scared the shit out of them. In fact, in certain places, they kill black preachers. Down where my folks are from, anybody that seemed like they're going to be a religious leader, they were selling and killing them. It was not Christian people. In fact, there is a book, I think his name is Lewis Carroll. Forgive me if I got the name wrong. These people had a description of religious Christian blacks that they couldn't control, that they were sent to Mississippi to be worked to death because they couldn't break them. It was called the Virginia spirit, like it was a disease. These black folks had started reading the Bible that wouldn't do what white people said, because it says, he who the Son of God sets free is free indeed. I don't have to do what you say. They were beating, killing, torturing, sell all their asses. And they forbade anybody white that wasn't vetted by them to talk to anybody black about religion, because they lost control of their people. We've had Islam all over our community for 60 years. I don't see anything comparable to what we had in the 1830s. Buddhism, Hinduism, yoga, and you conscious community liars with all your pyramids and shit haven't produced 1% of what a handful of believers did in the 1820s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. Almost better part of 170 years ago did more than what your asses do. And you said that the Bible made them slaves. All of you guys are liars. You're historical liars, and you're going to burn in hell for lying against the gospel, lying against God, lying against scripture, lying against the history of your ancestors, because maybe you are a sodomite or something nasty that you're doing that makes you hate the Bible. And if you're pagan, believe it or not, the Nazis and the white supremacists and all these other people, the feminists, they're all pagans too. You're simply a black version of an amoral, atheistic, Luciferian traitor. Okay, you're either for God or you're against God. That's how it breaks down. That's real Christianity. You're either for freedom and justice for everyone, or you're against it. Anything that's saying everybody's to be treated well, fed, if you have a problem with it, you are even worse than the white supremacists. So don't even come to me, all of you fake ass people with your dumb ass, stupid ass. You got some idiot up in New York or something that you listen to. They're liars. They can't back this shit up. You know what backs them up? Ignorant Negroes that don't know anything about the Bible. Well, the Bible's not true. Well, how do you know this Egyptian shit? How do you know? And how do you know it's all canonized? They just found a tomb the other day. There's no true unified anything from antiquity. Not really. The most unified thing that exists is the Bible of all books, whether you like it or not. And for the Muslims to say the Bible's corrupted, with all due respect, Muslims, If the Bible's corrupted, why are 26 of your 27 prophets in the Bible? Why would you take 26 corrupt prophets? Why not just use the holy one that you got? Maybe there's a confidence issue, or maybe there's a scam. Just saying. Let me go back to this. To instruct our Negroes in the truth of the Bible, it is not necessary to teach them to read. That's a lie. The scriptures say, study thyself approved, uh, a workman not needing to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. The Bible wants you to be able to read. In fact, they enslaved all the white folks in Europe because they couldn't read the Bible. It was in Latin, and they murdered people who put the Bible in the vernacular languages of the European. They wanted to kill Martin Luther. They killed Wycliffe and Tyndale. There's a whole thing about, in fact, a lot of ignorant black people, the ones in jail, disproportionate number of black folks can't read or write. In particular, black men, about 1 out of 2 of us are fucked up in reading. They call it reading comprehension. Either you understand the shit you're reading or you don't. If you don't understand, you're illiterate. Let's deal with this. And it used to be folks were struggling to learn how to read and write. Now, in fact, one of the reasons people want to learn how to read and write is to find out what the Bible actually said. Once we took the whole sacred thing out of reading, and reading is sort of punishment, and I just want to play basketball, I don't want no books. As a teacher, the dumbest ass people of all time, for the most part, were black athletes that felt reading was some kind of punishment. That's why a lot of black athletes are broke. They're dumb as fuck. Can't read. Some stupid Hebrew or a Khazarian steal all their money. And they don't like anybody black that's smart that can read because they don't trust them, and end up broke, changing light bulbs because they're tall at some place. So don't teach them to read. By mere oral instruction, in other words, whatever the hell we say is God's word. This existed in the Catholic Church. By mere oral instruction, they have in many instances become well-versed in the doctrinal, preceptive, and especially the historical part of the sacred writings. How could you be accurate if you had a white Jesus? This is a lie. Hold on, let me get my friend out. I love this guy. You're so cool. Isn't he lovely? Psych. Okay. If this is what they were teaching them was historic, it's a lie. You don't even see any Palestinians today that look like this for the most part. There's some Circassians in Syria. You don't see many blonde Palestinians. You would die of skin cancer. As many Khazarians get skin cancer, Israel and Australians have some of the worst cases of skin cancer because they're not environmentally adapted to live in that climate. Just saying. So if they taught you Jews were white and everything in the Bible's white, then you didn't really get the real thing, especially in the historical parts of the sacred writing. Also in the catechisms. Catechisms can have stuff mixed in, so that's not biblical. While in the committing of hymns to memory. So they don't mind Negroes knowing music. A lot of black churches are musical cults. They're biblically illiterate, but they know the gospel top 40. That's a lot of churches, like I said, they're holy juke joints. Learning sacred music and other devotional exercises, their quickness is proverbial. We well recollect hearing a Negro preacher, a slave, many years ago, who went through all the usual clerical exercises with considerable cleverness, giving out his hymns line by line. Line hymns, because the people couldn't read, right? Guide me, O thou great Jehovah, through this barren land. Guide me, O Jehovah, through this barren land. Right? I am weak, but thou art mighty. Guide me with thy powerful hand. Guide, right? They didn't have books, couldn't read, so everything's repetition, which means if he was told, Jesus said, eat bullshit and be a dumb nigger, and you repeat it, everybody see they think they're doing something. And by the way, that's how black culture is today with hip hop. They've learned this. We're all into repetition. It can be stupid shit. Like, what's that song? By Fly Red, Throw That Boy Pussy. Uh, that nasty thing, Sexy Red. All these other people. This is a culture of slave illiteracy and indoctrination to be degenerate or submissive that we think is keeping it real. No, it's keeping it fake. You're not acting white when you learn how to read and write. You're acting like someone that wants to be free and informed. We thinking black folks need a regime change. We need to take over our community and subordinate and make stupid black people do what we want instead of trying to make them feel comfortable being dumb. Enough of this shit. White people don't let stupid low-class white folks run things. Broke-ass white people in the trailer parks know how to behave themselves. We're the only people that let our scum run wild. I'm trying to show racial solidarity. Bullshit. Get your ass back in your project. Shut the fuck up. Be glad the public's paying for your housing. Giving out his hymns line by line, announcing his text, and directing his audience to the chapter and verse, all of this too. Listen to this. Without using any book and without being able to read if he had one. Faking the funk that he actually knew what was in the Bible, which he did not. He's repeating what he was told. He's a parrot. He's a Hakeem Jeffries. He's a Al Green, that caveman, Geico caveman looking Negro from Texas with his Huggy Bear pimp cane who got censored. To us, it would be a most gratifying task to travel around for a while, from plantation to plantation, and those sections where a systematic course of religious instruction is pursued. For we believe that the publication of the facts, which might thus be obtained, would be one of the most acceptable because most profitable services we could perform to the agricultural community. Such a tour, however, is impractical, and we must therefore appeal to others who are conversant with the facts that correspond with us and furnish us for publication with such information and such suggestions in regard to this subject as may benefit the public. And indulging in a lively wish for religious instruction of our servants and the desire to see a solemn duty performed, it is gratifying to know at the same time that we are only urging a measure of interest, the interest of the owners in the community at large, should I say the white community at large. And we earnestly hope that the self-interest, if no other consideration, will open the way for ministers to enter more generally and more frequently with more devotedness upon this interesting field of labor. In 1850, a planter wrote, Negroes should not be allowed to run about over the neighborhood. They should be encouraged to attend church when it is within convenient distance. It's culture that leads many blacks to church, not true Christian conviction or belief. It's culture. That's why you have as many whores and freaks and pimps and predators in church as you do in the nightclub, and they're probably less honest. So you're going to church because basically the white people said you should go. You're not in church because I love other black people. I'm looking for God. I want to serve and uplift. Maybe some, but we couldn't have the same rates of AIDS and divorce and bastards out of wedlock and folks in jail and the absence of concern for the poor and issues of health and homelessness and illiteracy and human trafficking and all the other ills that afflict us. If these churches did for us what white churches, Hispanic church, everybody else's institution of faith builds them up. Ours, for the most part, tears us down, exploits us, and takes the wealth out. In fact, they put their money in white banks and go to black banks for loans to build their churches. That's what they do in D.C. Imagine we give our money to white people and we ask black folks to invest in us. This is some silly shit that black folks are on. It's criminal. I'm going to keep saying it. I don't care who likes me. Again, Negroes should not be allowed to run all over the neighborhood. They should be encouraged to attend church when it's within convenient distance, where there are pious Negroes. In other words, religious coons who believe in white Jesus that do what we tell them to do, who accept white supremacy, right? They're pious Negroes on a plantation who are so disposed. They should be allowed and encouraged to hold prayer meetings among themselves. And where the number is too great to be accommodated in one Negro houses, they should have a separate building for the purposes of worship. Where it can be done, the services of the minister should be procured for their special benefit by having the appointment for preaching at noon during Sunday and at night during winter. The preacher could consult his own convenience as the day of the week without the least interfering with the duties of the farm. In other words, religious such is to help facilitate slave labor, not the saving of souls. Social control, not the saving of souls. Not even teaching people really what God is about, which is why a lot of fake ass black people. I used to be a Christian. I'm a nigger Muslim now. You never were a Christian. You never knew what you were talking about. And when you tell me all the horrors you experienced with crooked ass preachers, if you knew the Bible, your ass wouldn't have stayed there. You would have known to get the hell away from them. Your family went there. Maybe there was better pussy in the church than the club. They often have food that's bad for you, but it's free. Okay, let's just talk about church culture. It's full of shit. It isn't God. It's not salvation. It's not scripture. It's not salvation. It's not prayer. It's not healing. I believe in all that stuff. But there's a difference between bullshit and true faith, or should I say religious bullshit and faith. And most of our people like bullshit. If you have a stupid ass channel, I can get lots of views. Talk about something serious, man, go begging for someone to look at it. Listen to this. A word to those who think and care a little bit more about their own soul or the soul of the Negro, yet desire a good reputation for their children. Children are fond of the company of Negroes not only because of the deference shown them makes them feel perfectly at ease, but the subjects of conversation are on a level with their capacity. In other words, black folks have the mind of children. That's what you call them, boy and girl. While the simple tales and the witch and ghost stories so common among the Negroes excite the young imagination and enlist the feelings. If an association with the child becomes familiar with indelicate, vulgar, and lascivious manners and conversation as impression is made upon their minds and heart, which lasts for years, perhaps life, could we in all cases trace the effects to their real causes? I doubt not, but many young men and women of respectable parents and bright prospects who have been made shipwreck of all their earthly hopes have been led the fatal step by the seeds of corruption, which in the days of childhood and youth were sown in their hearts by indelicate and lascivious manners and conversation of their fathers' Negroes. Same ones raped and abused by their father kids are listening to them talk. So it's the nastiness of black people that pervert white people, not the lasciviousness and abuse of whites that pervert black people. Look at that. Which is why they didn't want rock and roll and hip hop and everything black, race music, keep whites pure, keep black stuff out, keep schools segregated. Listen, see how it never changes. If this opinion be correct, an effort to cherish and cultivate feelings and habits of delicacy and morality. In fact, you shouldn't have black folks raising children. Where the hell is Mrs. drinking mint juleps, staring at the groin of the men in the field instead of raising their kids? So, little girl raped by their father is raise them. If they ask them a question, they answer. That's okay. Sometimes the kids learn how wicked the plantation system is. Let's read between the lines. The little kid asked, and the person answered the question, and that ruined them. Hmm? Cultivate the feelings and habits of delicacy and morality among our Negroes is forcibly urged upon us by a regard for the respectability of our children, to say nothing of the prospects of both child and servant in another world, and our own responsibility when the great master shall require an account of our stewardship. So you mean God's going to ask you whether you taught blacks to be good slaves? They actually believe this shit. I don't know what Bible they're reading, not the one I have. A Georgia planner said, our obligation stop not with starting in good time and working industriously through the day. This is all well, and it has its appropriate reward, but the moral government of Negroes on the farm may not be disregarded. These responsibilities are high and holy and must be met. Who then should care and provide for their wants if not the master? We should show concern for their interests by proper encouragement and provisions. On large plantations, the better plan is to procure a preacher and provide a house of worship, and see to it that you are not thwarted in these good purposes by the interposition of such difficulties as are sometimes manufactured for the occasion of those in authority who feel more unkindness to these privileges in their hearts than they are willing to utter with their lips. In other words, white folks who could care a damn whether these people are Christian or not. Pick my damn cotton, my tobacco, my indigo, my apples, my peaches, nigga. I mean, Jesus, shit. You'll see them when you die. So the fakeness of white folks who say they believe in God, who say, right? What's going on with this screen? Who say that they're doing this stuff? Why is this thing so dark? Hold on one second. There you go. Oh, wait a minute. This thing isn't charging. Hold on one second. I'm going to swap this over here. One second. There we go. Swap this out. Okay. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. And this thing may go out. I'm wondering what's going on with this. Hmm.